Hey there, you're listening to You Still Going On About That with Rob Israel and Joseph K. You can find us anywhere you could download podcasts. You could also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at YSGOAT. Thanks for listening. I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
Are you still going on about
that?
All right, Joseph. It is January 6th.
Yeah.
2020.
Right.
2020, January 6th.
No.
And, I'm really looking forward to this year. It's an election year. And, I think a lot of good stuff's going to happen this year. A lot of great.
Oh, no.
For people. And it's going to be great.
You are clearly stuck in the past. It was some sort of time anomaly. I am here in the present, your future on January 6th, 2022, and it has been a terrible 2 years.
Is the cars flying yet?
No, and nor do we have food pills or jetpacks.
Hold on, let me look at my local penny saver. I'll be right back. What the fuck? What? It is, holy shit.
It is January 6th, 2022. That is a weird date to get used to.
Feels like the future.
Yeah.
I guess for me, who thinks it's January 6th, 2020,
yeah.
2022 is clearly the future.
Yes.
So what happened in the election?
We elected by a margin of like 7 million
Bernie
votes.
Sanders?
Joe Biden.
What?
He defeated Donald Trump like 81 million votes to 74 million votes. So
it was like and Trump
gracefully exited.
I imagine it took a couple of days, but he eventually conceded.
No.
Biden was everyone accepted the election and everything was fine, right?
No, right? Untrue. This is the 1 year anniversary. This is weird. This is the first show of our fourth season, and it is the 1 year anniversary of the attack on the Capitol, where thousands of deranged, soiled diaper, right-wing chuds stormed the hallowed halls of democracy and did unspeakably obscene and stupid things.
Where is that?
It was in Washington, D.C., the U.S. Capitol.
Oh, what?
Yes.
It's like a wizard casted a spell and made me, I know it 2 years have passed, but I just don't know any. I black out certain things. There's I don't see certain things. Made me forget certain things. So I'm in a I'm in a January 6th, 2020 where things are great. Well, what else happened? Nothing. 2020 was great. It was probably a very healthy, people, the health was great. And 2020, great. Everything was great. Nothing bad. Great.
Yes, we have now gone to, I think, the 8th coronavirus variant. I think this one is called Captain Trips.
Wait, are you talking about that virus that was in Wuhan?
Yes.
It never made it here, right? Trump made sure it didn't get here, right?
Yeah, no.
He didn't do anything dumb like dismantle the mechanisms that were put in place by the previous administration.
He absolutely did.
Oh, why?
Yeah. I believe, and I'd have to check the record, but I believe there was an owning of the libs involved.
Oh. How many libs were owned in the past 2 years?
Well, about 40% fewer than MAGA chuds, because the MAGA chuds are dying at a rate 40%.
They owned themselves?
Yeah. Much like the legendary MAGA hero Taser Balls.
Wait, what is Taser Balls?
I'm actually referring to.
There's a pandemic and then an election. What is going on?
Yeah, it's been crazy
for 2 years. I have carbonation poisoning.
Right. They should have unfroze you from carbonite earlier. They would just.
So, who is this Taser Balls, and why do you speak of this man?
Oh gosh, I forget the guy's name, but apparently this during the storming of the
His name
Capitol.
Taser Balls. What else is there? There's nothing.
So during the storming of the Capitol, he accidentally tasered his own balls until he dropped dead.
You mean
that
Taser Balls, the legendary balls tased? He to fight for billionaires to get retained tax cuts and hoard their wealth. Taser Balls went and tased his balls into his ears and eyes and mouth, bled out, and his heart exploded. He did it so that Ivanka Trump will get a bigger inheritance.
Yeah, basically, it's really. I mean, it's so crazy.
Plenty of this. I've been asleep for 2 years. So
well, we will talk about this. We got a decent amount of stuff to talk about tonight. We'll talk about the January 6th stuff shortly, but it is weird. A lot of the people that have gone to prison or who have gone to the afterlife via a tasering of their own balls. They
a place in hell for Taser Balls.
They really it's sad, you know. I mean, like, none of them were really benefiting from Trump's leadership, you know, it was such as it were.
And I'm shocked. I didn't think that the people who supported him, you know, they thought they would be like a real benefit, and they would, I don't know, get rich or something.
Is it so?
Or maybe
confusing?
is it just maybe they're just racist bigots?
Well, it's like if
reactionaries.
You may not remember this, but the other week we talked about some guy who called in and shouted, "Let's go, Brandon," to President Biden as he tried.
I'm gonna just stop this bit.
Yeah.
Let's get that. I'm traveling. I'm running through the time stream. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh my god, look. Patton Oswalt said something nice about Jay Chappelle. Why did he do that? Now he has to write like a 30-page novel about like why you shouldn't be friends with other rich people. All right, that was one moment. I'm back. All right, I'm here. So Taser Balls.
Yeah. Well, it's
January 6th. We are recording this a day later than we normally do. I had some personal stuff I had to take care of. Unfreezing out of carbonite. It takes a while to get your eyesight back. You get a little carbonite sickness. You get like you got that sweaty, gross shirt that you don't change in a couple of scenes that has like that coffee stain on you, and you're just like, and you smell probably really bad.
Yeah.
And so I needed the day to just kind of get, you know, take a big shower and just get my eyesight back and other senses. And I'm back. I read up on the past 2 years, and I learned that so it is the year anniversary of the nation's capital being overtaken by right-wing MAGA chuds led by basically the GOP.
Yeah.
Bad foreign actors and other private companies or whatever, nefarious groups like 3%ers and other.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, but before we get into that, why don't we talk about some fun stuff?
Yeah.
I guess we're going to go into it. So I've been asleep for 2 years now.
Okay.
Any movies come out?
Yeah. Actually, I saw the first movie I've seen in a theater in like 2 years. I think the last movie I saw was
on the movies anymore. I'm just kidding.
I think the last movie I saw was the Addams Family card.
Not aware of the pandemic. Why you shouldn't see a movie in a theater filled with coughing people?
Yeah. Well, I saw. I think the last movie I saw before this was the Addams Family animated movie. I saw my kid.
No, we talked about this. That came out before. We saw Star Wars in the theater.
Was that?
We saw Star Wars, Rise of the Oopsie Poopsie.
Yeah.
Episode 9 spelled IN 9 and Rise of the Oopsie Poopsie. We saw that came out after the Addams Family movie.
Okay.
Positive it did.
All right. Well, then it's been a while, but the new Spider-Man No Way Home came out.
A new Spider-Man. They made another Spider-Man movie.
This
Crazy.
was really good. My kid and I went to go see it over the winter break, and we saw like a 12 o'clock show, I think, and there's like 6 people in the theater, and so it was real nice.
My hold on, I gotta ask my kid. All right, my kid just told me that we start twice in the theater.
Oh yeah, that's right. You saw it twice.
I did, even though I was frozen in carbonite.
Did you take your kid twice, or did you go a second
I
time?
took him. Yeah, we went twice.
Okay.
And it was weird. You have to like, and it's cool with the carbonite thing because it's like you don't like you think like he has to drag me and stuff like that, but it has that cool feature where like I just kind of float.
Hooks you up to the icy machine. Hooks you up to
No, you just kind of float. Remember that? And
yeah.
The guy's just standing there, like I don't know. I guess like he needs to just make sure it doesn't fall, even though it was
Right.
hover. And I remember as a kid, I got the Slave One toy when I was like 5. Like I think I had my tonsils taken out.
Oh, okay.
And I got the Slave One toy, the Boba Fett.
Yeah, that was a nice
and
ship.
It came with the Han and Carbonite toy.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And I always try to recreate that scene where the figure would hold up Han so it would
Right.
look like he was floating like in the movie. And the figure just always fell over because of weight and physics or whatever. And I used to get very upset by that.
Yeah.
But my son took me, Carbonite Dad, to the movies. I kind of saw it. No, I'm kidding. All right. So, yes, I saw Spider-Man Far From Home. No. Way Home?
No Way Home.
No Way Jose. Spider-Man
Yes.
3. This time they mean it. I saw it twice in the theater.
Yes.
And I will say, it held up the second time.
Yeah, I'll bet it did.
Really, when I see him that shortly, I enjoyed it. It does not. The only weird slow. There's really no slowdowns. I will say maybe like there's some. No, I really it paces well for a long.
Yeah.
Movie. I mean, for a 2.5-hour movie, it paces really good. There's like no scenes that are like, oh God, this or whatever. It's funny. I've seen a lot of men get upset about the back cracking scene.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
I'm like, dude, are you that? Is your sexuality so threatened that the idea that Andrew Garfield would give Tobey Maguire a back crack?
Jeez, are people really worked up over that?
Like, these are the dudes that, like, if you went to the movies with them, they would have like the homo seat.
Yeah. That's
heard about that?
Yep.
Me and my friends, no, we sat next to each other and we jerked each other off. Like what men are supposed to do. I mean, nothing totally.
It was just
Spider-Man, and you play the popcorn trick. Duh.
yes, just like that scene in Diner with Mickey Rourke. It was
no, I'm kidding. These people are weird and bizarre. You go to the movies and you're not like, and I'm like, really? You can't sit next to each other? What's gonna happen?
That's crazy.
That says a lot about that person.
It does.
Like, but yeah, I saw people generally like complain about that scene, the backpack. They're like, I could have done without that.
That's crazy.
The movie was a great. That back cracking scene really ruined it for me.
That's funny. I thought that was a great scene, and I thought
think
it was really funny.
The reason why I love the movie.
I would say if I'm looking for like a scene, I would have or a part I would have wanted to tighten up, and I'm not going to like give a full spoiler, but this is somewhat spoilery. It is in the aftermath.
We're going to spoil this movie. Spoilers ahead.
The aftermath of the Goblin attack on Peter and Aunt May. I thought that scene was like that kind of dragged on for a little bit. I thought maybe it's just
that's where it gets a little slow. It's like that point thing, and like he kind of disappears for a while, and that's when they bring in the other Spider-Man. So I mean, I don't want to recap the whole movie. Like, so there's this character called Spider-Man, around for a couple of decades, pretty popular. I think this is like the 100th movie they made of Spider-Man.
It feels like it, yeah.
Now, so Spider-Man 3, like the plot is like after Spider-Man 2, it's found out that like everyone knows who he is because Quentin Beck, Mysterio, gave like J. Jonah Jameson, who in the MCU is basically Alex Jones. And
especially in this film. Yeah, like
dude, there was a fucking really funny scene in the new movie, because they show in the beginning of the movie where he's just in a green screen, like in his basement,
Yeah.
doing the Daily Bugle. And it's just some YouTube, right? Clearly like right-wing conspiracy YouTube show.
Yep.
And then like scenes later, after he's starting to get big, he's got a full-on studio,
Yeah.
full-on staff, and then he starts peddling vitamin
Yeah.
supplements. Dude, that was genius. That's Alex Jones level shit right there. That's what Alex Jones is.
His voice,
he peddles supplements and shit.
Yeah, his voice even was like a mix of Alex Jones and more so Rush Limbaugh. It was like a real.
It's funny because in the MCU, J. Jonah Jameson's bald, but he still has the same mustache.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They give him hair. He has that flat top, like crew cut flat top.
Right.
They gave him the wig in the Spider-Man, the original movie. So it's cool that they got him back to play this role. But in this version, J. Jonah Jameson's bald. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like the Daily Bugle is basically InfoWars. I thought that was actually like a fun little jab that didn't like overshadow the movie, but
it was obvious, but it wasn't the main.
Yeah, he didn't start talking about like Sandy Hook or something,
right?
Or claim that like no one died for 5 years. And it's true that they want you to think that half the population disappeared for 5 years.
Well, that's funny. Yeah,
Daily Bugle, like some Sandy Hook conspiracy shit in Marvel Universe. I love that though. Mysterio was right.
Yeah,
people who were like,
right.
Do you notice they brought Daredevil in?
Oh yeah, Charlie Cox played Matt Murdock, and that was a great scene. It was only about a
lawyer, but when he catches the brick, they're like, he's like, I'm a great lawyer.
Yeah, that was a great scene. And I could see them bringing Daredevil and Spider-Man would make a good pair anyway. You know,
so really just, I mean, this movie was probably the biggest movie in years, and especially since the pandemic, it's like the top. It made a shit ton of money. A ton of people saw it. They were like, you know what? Fuck it. We had COVID for Spider-Man. You know, I personally.
Would I taser my balls for Trump? Probably not. But would I get COVID for Spider-Man?
Probably. Yeah, I'm not going to tase my balls for Trump, but you know, but I am. We are fully vaccinated.
Yes.
I had the booster. My son's fully vaccinated. So we started seeing movies again. But like you said, there's like 6 people. We go to this theater where it's like very spread out. It's like one of those easy places, and like. So
I was strategic about it. I'm not going to go opening night at 8 p.m.
I don't want to go to a movie opening night anymore. Anyway. I'm over that shit. I was over it years ago.
I went to see a matinee on a weekday. It was real good. I will say the theater I went to was kind of our local theater. It was fine. It didn't seem like they were doing any extra precautions whatsoever. None of the employees were wearing masks.
Really? At least like the theater I go to, the employees wear masks.
None of I didn't see any
that theater's like 1 minute away from going out of business.
I didn't see any kid, because obviously we stayed for the whole credits and everything. I didn't see any movie workers coming in afterwards with like cans of Lysol or anything. I mean, I think
that theater's, dude. Okay, years ago, I went to that theater with Roger all the time, and there was always this one theater we got stuck in.
Yeah,
it's like because we didn't give a shit about the 3D stuff, so we would go to the regular one. And for like one time we went there, it just smelled. We were like, what the fuck is going on here? And it was this garbage can. It was like someone threw out like an entire little, like one of the, what do they call those things? Like the diaper genie or whatever. And it was like you pull it out, and it'd be this like boa constrictor of shitty diapers that you would take to the trash. It's like someone emptied that out into this movie theater, and it was disgusting. And like, I went to complain, they didn't do anything about it. No joke. We went back to the theater a week later.
Yeah.
And it still smelled exactly the same. I was like, dude, guys. I went there. I'm like, guys, it's like chemical fucking warfare. That garbage can is going to kill people.
It's going to become sentient.
They took the garbage can out and like sprayed it with whatever. But it was like, dude, like, The smell didn't go away and come back a week later. That smell sat there. They didn't give a fuck. One other time, me and my wife went to this theater for some like, they call it like those movie theater events, and it's just like an excuse to get me to go see an old movie, whatever, at full ticket price. And it was like I forgot what they call those events or whatever, but it was like the 30th or whatever anniversary of like Bridgemont High or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So we went. We went to it and we paid, and we were like the only people in the theater, whatever. And we're like, it's getting close to the time. Nothing came on. The theater was black, dark, no lights, nothing. Went to the people in front. I'm like, there's a movie we paid for. It's one of your event movies, and nothing came on. They were like befuddled. They had no clue what I was talking about. I'm like, literally selling tickets for it. And they went to go turn it on or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And they ended up like, they were trying to find like a copy online or something to play.
Like YouTube it for you?
Something like that. And I was like, fuck this. And I'm like, we just snuck in. So Baby Driver, it was like down the.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah,
that was a good movie. Yeah. But like, we just like, we're like, fuck this. I mean, we paid either way, so I'm like, let's just go on out there to watch Baby Driver. But like how incompetent these people are. Like you have a movie and you don't know, like you have no, like you're talking to me like as if I like stole the theater and I'm complaining that like the movie that I feel like watching is not available. I'm like, no, it literally is on the marquee.
Oh, that's funny.
It's a movie that I was able to pay for. How do you not know? Like, these fucking people are incompetent. That's why
I'm crazy.
I mean, that and the garbage can. I know there's some other funny stories. That it's just that it's near us. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. And I don't know. Anyway, I liked it a whole lot. Not the theater necessarily. The theater was fine, but the film was great. And I will say, I'm glad I went to see this on the big screen. It was just visually very good. And
yeah, no, it's definitely a movie. Like it's a movie event movie. It's almost like, again, it's like an Endgame type movie. Like
it really felt that way.
Yeah, so like the whole plot is Spider-Man tries to figure out, like, it gets to the point where his friends who they're not getting into college and their lives are being ruined. So he goes to Doctor Strange and to ask Doctor Strange to cast some kind of spell and get them to forget. And it's like, I don't know. That to me is like the dumbest part of the movie, because then he's like, I don't want them to forget. I don't want them to forget.
Yeah.
And like, else it's getting out of control. So it's like the whole plot based on the silly scene.
That was a little slapsticky, or a little like ABC after school special type. I mean, it seemed like a very weird contrivance. Yeah.
And then I love Doctor Strange. Like, did you plead your case?
Yeah, that was great.
Or I did this fucking.
Before I brainwashed the planet,
like fuck with the multiverse on a grand scale.
Did you ask? Did you?
So the whole thing was like, the spell was like, anyone that knows who Peter Parker or Spider-Man, and I guess the spell taps into the multiverse, so it starts bringing all these characters. Now, a couple of them don't really make any sense. Like, in the end of Venom, it's kind of funny. Like, anyone who saw Venom in a theater, who was stupid enough to see Venom versus Carnage, they put in this ending that Sony, like, they made it sound like Venom was going to be in this movie. Spoiler. Venom is really not in this movie at all. There's a mid-credit scene in the end of the movie where Tom Hardy's at a bar and you hear Venom's voice talking to him in the inside.
You just hear the voice, so you don't ever see
bartender telling you about all the different heroes in the Marvel universe, and then they get sucked back into their own reality again.
Yeah.
But they leave behind a little symbionite, which is kind of cool. It's like a nice way of like saying, like, Marvel's like, listen, we don't want this stupid ass movie involved with there. We don't want those dumbass Venom movies involved with their well-crafted MCU movies. Like, Your movie's like we don't want that stain. Like,
Yeah.
thank you for giving us the Sibyl. We'll make it cool. Here.
We'll take care of it.
We'll take care of it from here. Thank you. You go fuck off or whatever. Enjoy Morbius.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Even though that actually looks kind of cool.
I bet that'll be fine. That looks fun. I thought that was going to be in the MCU, and it's not.
Well, it's confusing because like the Vulture's in it, and the Vulture was in the MCU, and it's Michael Keaton in the trailer.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
And he's basically playing the Vulture in that scene, who's in prison. So it's like people are really confused, and like in that trailer, there's a poster, but it's like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man on the poster.
Yeah.
And he brings up Venom in the trailer too. So it's like,
well, I thought that was part of Sony's Spider-Man universe, not the MCU.
Yes, Spider-Man. I mean, Venom is part of the Sony universe where Spider-Man doesn't exist because they let the MCU. The whole thing's a mess. I'm curious. Morbius keeps getting pushed back. It was supposed to come out last year, obviously the pandemic. Right. But then it was supposed to come out in January, and now supposedly they pushed it back to April. Now maybe they're like, you know what, January's a shitty month anyway. April's going to perform better, and we believe in this movie. If they didn't believe in the movie, they probably would have just dumped it in January.
Yeah, burned it out. Yeah.
Who knows? But it just didn't make. Okay, so why was Venom brought into the Marvel Universe? He didn't know who Peter was.
Yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense. I will say, like, this movie worked in a couple different ways for me. One is obviously it's a MCU movie that felt like a big event and kind of moved the plot forward to where you see.
It also brought in the old Spider-Man movies, obviously, with the villains, and the two other Spider-Men. So you kind of got into the Spider-Verse part 2, but like with real live actors.
Yeah, well, it was cool because you were like, oh, that's how Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man would have wound up. You know, I
kind of wish though that he had a different costume, like something like a little more mature. Like it was obvious that he's supposed to be an older Spider-Man. They acknowledged that, like in the end of the movie, when like Dr. Octopus is like, "Oh, Peter, you're all grown up," you know, and it's like, I kind of wish they just showed a little bit more, like, hey, this is where he ended up. Like, like a different I don't know, whatever, it's fine. I kind of like, out of all those things, I would love them to do a spin-off or some movie where you know, Tobey Maguire's married to Mary Jane in this universe, and he has a kid, and that kid has spider powers, like Spider Girl, whatever, which is an actual character in the comics. And her name's like Mayday Parker or whatever. And I think that could be like a really cool like spin-off to do that. They were talking about doing like Amazing Spider-Man 3 or something with Andrew Garfield, and I was like, dude, those movies suck ass. Like Andrew Garfield's fine, he's okay. Like I still don't like, people think he's great. I'm like, he's okay. He's not fine. He's fine. You got Tom Holland. Tom Holland does a great job. You don't need. I mean, Andrew Garfield was good in this movie, but
Tom Holland. If you like, when I was really into Spider-Man books, late 70s. Tom Holland is like almost exactly the Peter Parker, the high school Peter Parker.
He captures Spider-Man. Like Tobey Maguire was good, but like the actor was already older, and he couldn't interact with the Marvel Universe. They weren't doing that yet. They didn't have that yet. Like, so the funny thing about the difference between Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is that like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, like they didn't really have a connected universe yet. They didn't have like Disney didn't own Marvel yet. They didn't create this MCU yet. Iron Man wasn't even like, was being pre-planned years later. Like, and it kind of just existed on its own. And it was like perfect for the time. We didn't have, it was like one of the better comic book movies, like the costume close to like the comic. They didn't like do that shit where they just change it because they were like, I don't know, it looks silly on film.
Make it black.
But they actually committed to the webs, and that's like, is it perfect? No, but it's pretty damn good. Especially for that time. The problem I always had with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was it was like Sony being dicks and being like, well, we're going to create our own universe because the MCU was already in play when years like Avengers just came out when the first Amazing Spider-Man movie came out. So you already started to have this interconnecting Marvel universe, but then you had this like weird like tangent thing that Sony was trying to do, and they were just like,
Yeah.
fuck. That Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie is just a shit show.
It's a mess.
They tried shoving in all these like, someone made a joke and said, why did they bring James Franco back? The other guy, Dan or whatever that fucking, the guy who also played the Goblin in the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah.
But James Franco, I think, I don't know if that guy has any issues, but James Franco has some.
He's got a few.
He's got some. We're not talking comic book issues.
No.
Talking like some allegation issues.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while, so
I really like part of me, like, I thought it was cool that they brought in all those characters, but the other part of me is like, kind of stinks, because like I would like to see MCU's version of Norman Osborn.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Fun one, but now that you have him and it's in this huge movie, they're not going to want to touch it ever again. Or Doc Ock, who's a great villain, but it's like, come on, these guys are like, they CGI'd their faces, make them look younger.
Yeah,
you can't have them play these characters like, they're like close to Michael Douglas's age. These actors.
Yeah,
Michael Douglas plays an old man in these movies because he spoiled.
He is, yeah.
Old man. What's his face was great. I love like some of the cheesiness behind it too. It's like when Doc Ock's like, I'm gonna harness the power of the sun, which is like, someone pointed out something that's kind of funny. Well, so like when Norman Osborn fades back into his universe in the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Spoilers. We're kind of talking this out of order. The thing is, like, okay, he's cured. Does he get to live on, or does he go back right to that moment when the Goblin Glider gores him to death? And they said if someone edited a scene where he fades and then he comes back, and the thing is, when William Dafoe's character is fighting Spider-Man, that scene, he gets like a moment of clarity, and he's not the Goblin. He's actually back to being.
Yeah.
That's when he gets killed by the Goblin Glider.
Oh, that's funny.
The thing is that like in that scene, it's almost like, wait, did he disappear and then fade back
at that moment,
at that point of his death? And I love the whole Dr. Octopus thing too, because it's like they're like, yeah, we could just fix him. He has like a burnt shit.
Right.
So I always thought that was so stupid. Like, I love that like, Spider-Man 2 is great, but I always thought like that was like the stupidest thing. It's like, I have these mechanical arms that are crazy, but I'm in control because of this little chip on the back of my spine.
Right.
And it's exposed and can be breached and easily shorted out by like just
walk by a powerful magnet or something.
The slightest wind will, and then my mind will be taken over by these evil tentacles, and I will be an out of control monster.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I have this very flimsy.
Well, I'll tell you the movie really, it was good. I watched it with my kid, who has not ever really seen any Spider-Man movies. She saw Into the Spider-Verse, but that was it. That was the only Spider-Man movie she'd ever seen, and she loved it. I gave her the basics ahead of time, about the multiverse and who Doctor Strange was and this, that, and whatever.
You like that? You ever see that picture of that guy talking to the girl, the photo, and he's like explaining things to her? It's like a meme that people use.
Oh yeah.
That girl's just kind of looking forward, like, I could give a fuck.
Well,
listen, honey. So the multiverse, which started
exactly. I'm driving down the road talking about the multiverse, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to power through this.
I thought the movie was fun, and I liked the friend. He had funny lines. I'd like to talk more about the multiverse and where it first premiered.
She liked the movie a whole bunch.
Theories about what?
She liked the movie a whole bunch without any of that.
Like a lot. He wanted to see it again.
Yeah.
Because it was his favorite movie out of all the movies we saw in the theater recently.
But if you, like me and you, grew up with the Spider-Man comics, and then later with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and then with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and then with the MCU Spider-Man, this was like a really, really rewarding movie in that you saw all these different Spider-Mans, you saw the three of them coming together. You saw like, oh, that is like a different version of it, because Spider-Man, that the book was like that growing up. I mean, I remember there's like 4 or 5 different titles of Spider-Man. There's one
Oh
where
yeah,
he
but
was
like even like what's crazy too is like when they're all talking to each other and Tom Holland's character is talking about the Avengers and all that. And
yeah.
like, what the fuck is the Avengers? And like they're explaining all like it just shows you like it's like MCU is like telling Sony like Spider-Man is a much richer, better character because he gets to interact
Yeah.
with all the heroes because, well, one, we own them, and we're not dealing with all this fucking red tape. And our version of Spider-Man is just better because he's went up against Thanos and like he went into like when he's telling them he went to space, they're like, "You've been to space?" Like it's like the whole
Right.
You've been to Grimes.
I'll tell you these characters, and I love
Grimes, the electronica singer.
I thought you were talking about Grimy, the Homer Simpson's co-worker. But these characters, and I love superhero movies, but like I don't want to. I often find myself far less interested in a movie featuring a single hero. That used to be plenty for me, but now like seeing them interact, that's like the real. That's fun.
Like the joke is like the Venom movie when it came out, so the first one, and I saw that with my son, who was stupid. I said, I'm like, this is like it felt like a movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we're making Blade, and it's just Blade. And it's like, he's not gonna be able to interact with like Ghost Rider and these fucking characters. And it just felt like this isolated movie.
Right.
And again, there's nothing wrong with that if you make a good movie, but the movie wasn't good. It's like if it was a great movie, then we wouldn't care. So you're watching this movie that's not very good. The character's main existence is based on being first Spider-Man, like Spider-Man's the host of Venom first. Venom's only a good character based on the fact that he wants revenge and wants to kill Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And to like just remove, so it just felt like some weird like Spawn or one of those movies from the 90s.
Yeah.
And this Spider-Man is, again, it's cool that Tony Stark shows up in the first Spider-Man movie. It's cool that Doctor Strange shows up as the, well, it's Doctor Strange.
Well, yeah.
And it shows that like he's okay, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but like it's really good. I do like seeing the other Spider-Man. My favorite scene, unlike other people, that crack scene was actually really good.
Yeah.
So it leaves off with everybody getting sent back to the universe. And Spider-Man does this thing where basically everyone has to forget Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
Yes.
Like, he makes sure, so that means his aunt dies, she gets killed, which is, I didn't see that coming. I thought that was actually pretty bold.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Yeah, but she did the line, with great power comes great responsibility.
Uh-huh.
Almost like curious because they talk about Uncle Ben, the other two talk about Uncle Ben, and it's like, did Peter Parker have an Uncle Ben in this universe? It's like,
I don't remember that.
His uncle once in the first movie. And they always kind of like, they just didn't want to deal with the spider bite. They're like, we're not going to do this fucking origin again.
Yeah.
And supposedly there's going to be a cartoon on Disney Plus that's supposed to be called like Freshman Year or something. Be like canon, MCU canon. And it's supposed to explain how Peter Parker in this universe got the bite and everything. We'll see. We'll see if it's good. It's worth watching. But I mean, I'll probably watch it. As long as the animation's good, but it's interesting. They leave it off that no one knows who Peter Parker is, and in a way, I don't mind that. I kind of like now it changes his character a bit. It makes him more street level. By showing Daredevil in there early in the movie, it's kind of like showing that, like, hey, you know what? He's probably gonna be interacting with characters like Daredevil, Kingpin. I think it leaves open, like by removing Ned and MJ. Now, I don't think I think those characters will come back, but it allows like other characters to come in.
Yeah.
Like this is a perfect opportunity to bring Black Cat in. Black Cat would be awesome. She's a great character in that, like, she only likes Spider-Man. She doesn't like Peter Parker. Like, she doesn't even know there's anything under. Like, they date, but the joke is Spider-Man dates.
Yeah.
She doesn't even want to know who's under that mask. And like, I think there's like a good it opens up the door for cool storylines like that are maybe not so insanely epic.
Yeah.
Like it's weird because you train your audience to be used to this thing, but at the same time, maybe like, hey, maybe the next movie, keep this like on just like rooftops and shit. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like fucking mind the freaking realities cracking open. And
Well, that is why it'd be a perfect fit with like Daredevil. Make it like a not lower level, but like a more grounded.
Like they end it in that way too, because Peter does not have access to Stark technology anymore.
Right.
And he's wearing the traditional costume. Actually, he's literally wearing the most comic accurate costume of all costumes.
Yeah.
Like they show it. It's just literally spandex, and it's interesting because I'm like, isn't it cheesy? But I'm like, it's a fucking comic.
Yeah.
Exactly it. It doesn't have like, I'm sure if you zoom in, it's like some textures and shit, but it's not like the webbing is like thick, like the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I know what you mean.
Even on those versions of those costumes. And I always like the costume in this movie, in the Peter, like the MCU, because it made sense that like, well, one, before Tony Stark's meets, Peter's in like a hoodie, like he's got the color, but it's just some like thing he made, and then Tony kind of designs a costume for him that like fits into the MCU, and they were able to do that shit with the eyes.
Yeah.
Impressive. I always thought that was really funny. Like
that was good.
His eyes can bug out. Like the other costumes can't do that.
No. Not since Nicholas Hammond have we seen. Not since the Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man have we seen
such a comic accurate costume. Nicholas Hammond. How did he go up?
I was gonna say they should have brought him in. Like
save for the sequel.
Coming like rolling in a wheelchair or something. Yeah. It's like this 80-year-old Spider-Man.
Where the fuck are you? I'm that guy that on the video store and you cried and told your mom you wanted to watch Spider-Man, and then you put the video on the VCR and you got bored very quickly.
They brought in the electric company Spider-Man and he didn't speak. Like,
I think it's cool. I think it opens the door. Now the other thing they did too, I'm going to wrap this up so we can move on to something else, but Ned, they make him being a villain. The thing is, Ned Leeds in the movie is actually two different characters. There's a character in the Miles Morales comics where Ned Leeds in the movie looks exactly like this character. He's like kind of like I don't know, is he like Malaysian or something?
So, yeah.
And he's that character, but that character's name's not Ned Leeds. Ned Leeds is a character that becomes the Hobgoblin in the comics. And he's never really like, I guess he's like Peter's friend in like the Daily Bugle, and it's revealed that he's the Hobgoblin. So they kind of hinted throughout the whole movie. He wears a jacket. He wears a Letterman jacket throughout the whole movie that is blue and gold. Those are the colors of the Hobgoblin's outfit, which is actually kind of funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
Also drops some other hints. He actually has magic abilities. Like he has.
Oh yeah.
Because he's able to do it. I love when he's talking about Strange. He's like, my family has like a history, and I have like these tingling sensation in my fingers. And he's like, you need to go to the doctor to get that checked out. Like he has diabetes or something. But he was able to open a portal.
Right.
He's able to do some limited
rudimentary magic, like right away.
Goblin in the comics, not always, some iteration, whatever, in the comics, knew magic too.
Okay.
Was able to tap into like mystical powers or something.
Sure.
So, and now that he's like, his character doesn't have Peter as a friend, it almost always opens the door for him to become a villain.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah,
and become the Hobgoblin. And because he makes throughout the movie, they make even references about like, oh, I won't kill you. Yep. Like I'm not gonna be a bad guy, or like when they talk about Harry Osborn.
Yeah.
Oh, he's my best friend. He tried to kill me, and Ned's just like, whoa.
Right.
That has one of the best lines earlier in the movie when they're talking about like something danger, and he goes wicked danger or wicked crime. It was a reference to Massachusetts or something.
Yeah.
And he says like, oh,
they have crime in Boston. He's like, they have crime in Boston, right? He's like, oh yeah, wicked crime.
Yeah, I was like, probably, I was the only person in the theater laughing. I was the only person in the theater laughing when Norman Osborn goes, I used to be a scientist. I'm quite the scientist myself. Because that's like literally from the first movie. And that's become a meme. That whole time. And I was like, they know what they're doing. They had the 3 Spider-Men pointing at each other. That meme. They did that. Yeah. Like, I would love to, like, it's cool that they got the other Spider-Man to come. Someone brought up the thing, like, wait, why do you have 2 totally different people from Tom Holland? Like, wouldn't in theory just be like Tom Holland?
A different Tom Hollands.
Yeah, like one just has like green hair or something, like it would just, like people like, you know what? Don't think about it too much.
Yeah. No,
don't be that person.
It was great. It was great. It was a great movie.
I could believe Tobey Maguire playing an older version of Tom Holland.
Oh yeah.
It's what's his face who does not look anything like that.
Yeah, Garfield, right. Yeah, actually you're right. Tobey Maguire does look like an older Tom Holland.
He could.
Yeah. But it was good. It was good.
I thought it was great. It made me excited to see another Spider-Man movie. And part of me is like, like, are they removed from the MCU? No, I think what they're doing is making the character not so, like, it's funny where, like, so you had him in Civil War, 3 Spider-Man movies, and 2 Infinity War movies. So he's been in 6 movies. And I feel like the joke is now, by the 7th, we're actually getting a really true, down on his luck Spider-Man character that, like, will be more street level and be more like, kind of like almost be able to create his own universe that doesn't revolve so much on like meeting Happy Hogan or like any connections to, like, it makes him be more like that, like in the end of the movie when J. Jonah Jameson's like talking about Spider-Man and you could tell he forgot because he said, whoever this guy is who's Spider-Man,
right.
I thought that was great.
Was a good ending. Yeah.
So did you notice a couple of quick things? One, I like that he passed the Christmas tree in Rockefeller Center.
Yeah, right. From Hawkeye.
Right? Right. The Christmas tree doesn't exist anywhere else, right?
No, just in the MCU.
It's an MCU property now. MCU owns the Christmas tree in Rockefeller Center. Sorry, NBC. It's just the way it goes, buddy.
Right. Yeah.
You want to participate in this world, this universe, get on you're on this train or you're off the train, buddy. This train's moving.
Yeah, no, that was good. What else?
There's a billboard early because the movie takes place over a couple of months. It's like September to basically December, the movie.
Yeah.
And you see like seasonal changes and shit. And like, you see the billboard like in the beginning of the movie in the background for Rogers the Musical.
That was good. I did not notice that. I had to go back and see that, like, in a YouTube.
Yeah, I noticed it the second viewing. I was like, oh shit, it's I see the yellow thing with the poster and it's from Hawkeye.
That's funny.
And in Hawkeye, they make a reference to the Statue of Liberty.
Yes.
They make a reference there too, but I'm gonna have to go back and look because in theory, that shield would have fallen off already before Hawkeye aired. Because Hawkeye takes place from the 20th to the 25th.
Right.
It really is like the 6 days
before Christmas, yeah.
And at that point, because in the end of the movie, it's like around Christmas time.
Right.
That's a month later after the events. Kevin Feige fucked up. He supposedly said in an interview, like, they never casted a new Dr. Octopus or Green Goblin because they felt like what's their faces were so good in those roles that they were never going to be able to get it good. But I don't know. I feel like it's a missed opportunity. I think Norman Osborn's he has potential to be like a Lex Luthor type villain.
Yeah.
Just about being like the Green Goblin and just being like, I want to throw pumpkin bombs. Like he's like he's basically like an evil Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Well, man, I'm shocked that I was able to watch that and capture all that while encased in carbonite. Yeah.
Well, speaking of, that's the next thing we were going to talk about, and hopefully you were around for this one. The second episode of the Book of Boba Fett came
Oh,
out.
I made sure to melt myself before that.
Yes,
I
I
willed myself up. I was
I
like,
thought this was. I loved the first episode a lot. I thought this was even better.
oh, this second one blew the first one out the window. First
It
of all,
was great.
it's longer.
It's
It's like,
55 minutes long as opposed to like a half hour.
yeah, the first one's pretty short,
Yep.
actually.
Yeah.
Dude, this one, I was like, okay, so you get, I'm not even kidding. I had the biggest fucking smile on my face when the Hutts showed up.
Yeah.
Because I've been wanting, like, okay, so ever since Return of the Jedi, where Jabba's just a big puppet, and I knew
Yeah.
that CGI technology and all that stuff, and they had that horrible scene of him in New Hope where they added them back in with that
Yeah.
horrendous CGI.
Yep.
They actually, I told you, they replaced that CGI with the episode 1 model.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
But even that, it was like, it looked okay in the episode 1. He shows up for just a minute, and he doesn't show up again in the Clone Wars. And I thought that was a missed opportunity. I feel like they should have had him be in some other, like, just something. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, you want to, like, you don't want to do too much with him because you want to save him for Return of the Jedi. You know, it's like the first one shows that, hey, he has a power grab on Tatooine, whatever. But man, I've been wanting them to do something with the Hutts the whole time. Like, they didn't do it with Mandalorian. I figured it's like a budget thing, but man, they came in swinging on this one.
Yeah, they did.
Those looked fucking amazing. Like, that was movie quality shit right there.
It looked great.
Like, so basically, like, they captured that assassin from the first one, but the one assassin they let live. And it's great when they, like, he went respond, and then they're gonna kill him and everything like that. But I guess getting eaten by a rancor is like way worse or something.
I suppose. I found that curious too. Yeah.
I thought that was funny. They dropped him in the pit, and they're like, he admits to it, but they're like, yeah, we don't even have a rancor.
Yeah, because little Luke killed the rancor like a while back, right?
It was 5 years ago. Big Fortuna must have been lacking. He could have gotten something. Whatever. They're like, listen, we don't, you want little dinosaur dogs and
those are adorable. I love those.
Yeah, I love those characters. They were in it for a minute in Attack of the Clones. You saw them when before Luke murders the entire village. But man, these ones and this one, like, they're like cute. It's weird.
It's very hard to describe because you wouldn't think they'd be cute, but they kind of have like an affectionate little, like, wanting to please attitude about
like
them.
The tongue that dangles out. They have sweet eyes, but they're like lizard dogs or something.
Yeah.
Little dino dogs, little dinos.
Basically, yeah. Well, this episode was great because it was again split between present day and flashbacks, and the present day was like Boba Fett trying to get his crime family off the ground.
He went to the mayor. He got to see the mayor. The mayor's a hammer, like one of those hammerhead raids.
Yeah.
I found out the voice, so that's cool. He's like talking. He's like, but then he had the translator.
Yep.
The person who did the translations, what's his face? The director of the series. I forgot the name of the director. He directed the Boba Fett episode in Mandalorian. He's like a famous director. He does shit with Quentin Tarantino, the Grimehouse.
Oh, Rodriguez, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly Rodriguez did the voice
cool.
of that character, the translation. I thought that scene was cool. I like that I love that type of alien. Again, I'm so tired of this shit. Like, they're gonna go back to the well and use the same shit. Like, they have better technology now. I want to see these characters be able to do cooler shit than just be a puppet in the bar in a darkly lit scene.
Yeah, these are great. They use a good mix of like new and old characters and stuff. I mean, I think that's real nice.
Bitch. Yeah. Some asshole was like complaining. I saw some tweet. Some guy was like, Disney's awful or something because, like, I guess they shot a new scene when they showed the young Boba Fett getting. They didn't just take the clip right from the movie. Supposedly. Okay. And I guess because a body was moved or whatever, they're like, Disney has no respect for this. Is like, oh, dude, shut up. I'm like, oh no, Bongo Chungus was cut out of the background. Not Big Blibbler Blib Portuna and Bingus Dingus.
Yeah, no, they've done a great job with this.
And that scene though, he go okay, so then he finds out like, no, it was not. The mayor did not try to kill him or whatever, and I don't know. He goes back to that bar wherever where the what's her name? Beale?
Jessica Biel or Jennifer Biel. Yeah, I'm sorry.
There's I say the high what is she?
Lilac, yeah.
Lilac. She's like trying to welcome him there, be nice, and you know, she's like the host or whatever. And you hear boom, boom, and I was like, shit, they're talking about the twins. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so good. And they show up, and that scene was so that was like probably one of the best scenes I've seen in like years. Like,
it was really good. The effects were good. The
huts are awesome. The two huts, they're like wrapped around each other.
Yeah, so weird.
But like, I forgot somebody. I'm not even gonna repeat. But then they brought out their warrior, and I was like, holy shit! It's this dude, this big like just like he's black. Like I mean, he's literally a Wookiee that is the color black.
Yeah, it's a really awesome looking character.
He's from the comics. Like I said, he's been in the
comics.
You
had said that. I didn't realize that.
He first shows up in Darth Vader #1 from 2014. When Marvel took over, Dark Horse had it for years. They had it for like 2 decades. Star Wars. And then Marvel got bought by, Disney bought Star Wars. So, and they also owned Marvel at the time. So they're like, we're bringing back, I guess the license expired. And they're like, yeah, sorry, Dark Horse, thank you, but we're just going to put it back to Marvel. And Marvel was going to go in and just like anything that happened in the comics is considered canon.
Yep.
And the fact that these shows are acknowledging that these characters in the comic are canon, and the fact that they brought this guy in, who's again, probably, are they going to bring Chungus Dingus from issue 30 of Star Wars? Probably not, or Globus Boobus, or Flutus Pupidus.
Right.
And
all unlikely.
Eat Sneaks and all those other wacky characters. No, but I mean, like, this opens the door for like all these characters from like the comics and the books to come in.
Yeah.
Because they put this guy in, and he is a cool character. He's like one of the villains. It's kind of funny in the Darth Vader series. They basically introduced these characters that were basically just evil version. Like he's an evil version of Chewbacca.
Right. Yeah.
And then they introduced these like evil, like basically this evil C-3PO and this evil R2-D2. I mean, they're different enough characters, but like when they first see him, they're like, okay, I know what's going on.
Right.
It's kind of funny. Darth Vader had these like evil versions, or well, the droids were evil. This character is evil. I mean, he's like a mercenary,
done for hire.
Yeah, he's a badass character, and he looked fucking huge.
Yes.
Like, bigger than Chewbacca. Like he looked like he was like a foot taller.
Oh yeah, easily, yeah.
Bulkier. So that fucking scene was so good. I almost like wanted like Boba to look at the screen and go, man, that scene was expensive.
It was really well done. It was.
It's for the rest of the episode. Our budget was kind of blown by those.
You know what I love about those Tatooine scenes is that there's a ton of people in them. You know what I mean? There's like people wandering around doing shit.
They cast it. Like they put a lot into this.
Yeah.
Like I saw somebody on like TikTok say that Boba Fett is a better show already than Mandalorian. But like the people were saying like, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's a different show. I think like the difference is it's Boba Fett. You already know who this character is. Like Mandalorian, it's like it's weird because it was a new character, and it was like, oh, when you think of Mandalorian, you think of Boba Fett. So you have this character who's also a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Who wears Mandalorian outfit, and you're like, how is this guy not a poor man's Boba Fett?
Right.
But by the end of the first episode, I feel like they got you. Yeah, that this was not Boba Fett. This is a very different character.
Yeah.
And you also had Baby Yoda.
But and the Mandalorian was like kind of naive and a little like younger, and I mean he wasn't naive. Like, I mean, he was a seasoned bounty hunter, but he was like, but he was still learning the ways of the Mandalorian.
That episode when he got lured into the van with the no windows for candy.
Yes. Well, he was naive to the ways of the Mandalorian to some extent, you know. So they're very different characters, it turned out. But I thought this Boba Fett was great. I am super excited. I don't know if I'd say it's better than the Mandalorian, but I'd say it's as good as the Mandalorian for me so far.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, the first episode was good. The second episode was much better. I'm kind of like not expecting the next episode to be as good. I mean, this episode was, again, with the huts. Those huts were awesome.
Yeah.
Just like the voice and everything. And again, yeah, you said like there's like, it's a large cast. It looks even more expensive than the Mandalorian. It does.
Yeah.
You up the budget. Like the problem with the Mandalorian is there's some scenes where like they talked about those effects they use where it's like a lot of it's like the CGI background.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of episodes where they have lots of cast and everything like that. But this one just looks, this is a step up.
Yeah, I would say. It's a great show. It's a good premise. It's good characters.
And I just said, this is why I'm like, I don't even care if they make a movie ever again.
Yeah. I'd like to see one eventually, but I don't see the need for it yet. There's so many stories to tell like this, you know?
I almost would, this is what I would prefer. I would almost prefer they would do the TV shows that take place in this, like, that finishes up the story or delves into, like, you know, where Boba Fett was just a really cool action figure, and now he's an actual fucking character,
right?
Like an agency or whatever. We're getting that in the show, and we're getting all these other characters in the show, and you can tell a rich story. And I'm fine with them doing that, and they can like expand on that era between Return and Force Awakens or whatever, or go in their own channels. They do another movie. I would prefer that it's either super far in the future, super far in the past. And I almost would prefer even maybe super far in the future.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Because, like, well, theoretically, this was a long time ago in a galaxy far away. I mean,
it's just on Earth and people playing with action figures.
Yeah. Well, I think a far future one would be really good. You know, where they're talking about like where Luke Skywalker and even Rey and they're like legends. Like, were they even real people? You know?
Well, they kind of did that in Force Awakens a little bit. Like,
yeah, but it wasn't. They didn't hold that.
Like as if they're myths, and it's like they tried doing that. I don't know. But it's cool. The Tusken Raider stuff's awesome.
Yep.
You know what's crazy? The two characters that are in that bar when Boba Fett goes. Well, there's like a train that comes and just like kills a bunch of Tusken Raiders, and like we gotta get rid of this train.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with Star Wars and trains. Like there's a train in Solo.
Yeah. It's like an Old West type of thing.
Yeah, there's like a train in an episode of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a little bit of an Old West thing. But like, so Boba Fett goes into town in his shitty clothes that he hasn't like covered in like Sarlacc juice or whatever.
Yep. He looks like an extra from THX.
He has he does look like an extra from THX. Like he's bald and he's just like there's a bar with those scavengers, and they're like just fucking people up. And there's this couple there.
Who is the couple? I mean, I know who they are, but like who?
From the Star Wars universe. They are in. Did you ever see the cutscenes from Star Wars, the first movie?
Yeah.
Now they're not the same actors because that movie was over. Like that movie's over 40 years ago.
Right.
Those characters.
They're supposed to be the
people. So in the Anchorhead scenes in Star Wars that were cut out, Luke goes into Anchorhead and meets his friend Biggs, and Biggs is hanging out with this couple. And the girl's like an asshole.
Oh, is that supposed to be Biggs?
No, Biggs is dead. Biggs dies in
That's right. Yeah.
Killed the Death Star. No, this was that couple that's in that Anchorhead.
Oh, that's funny.
It's supposed to be them. And if you look at them and you see the casting people that kind of look like them and they're wearing similar outfits.
I didn't even pick up on that. Yeah.
For a second, I was like, there's something up about these people. And then I started thinking, I was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense now. Yeah. So they're like, it's like, I mean, it's a deep cut.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
They were cut out of the movie. It's a deep cut. And the only way you can see it is if you
watch the cut. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm still suffering from carbonation poison. Been carbonate for 2 years. And, just things with the slightest amusement make me, I just
Yeah.
lost,
Well, I thought this was great. I can't wait to see the next one. Now, this series is only 6 episodes long, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
sucks.
fuck, they're like this length and this good. Like, and the thing was, like, the Tusken Raider stuff's good. The ending when they're dancing in was a little corny.
A little much.
I hope it pissed off so many like Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Boba Fett doesn't dance. My Boba Fett just doesn't talk. He's in one scene in a movie, and then he gets someone hits him with a stick, and he falls into the pit.
No, this will be a good run. I like this
Boba
series.
Fett was tripping on lizards in this episode too.
Yeah, I forgot about
They
that.
gave him a lizard went up his nose, and he was high as fuck.
Yeah.
Super high. He went on a shaman's journey. He invaded the capital. Dressed up as QAnon shaman, the QAnon Boba Fett.
It was good. It's definitely got a kind of an old west Native American, like Native American old west / vibe to it. It's good.
I'm curious where it goes. I kind of like, oh, man, part of me is like, it could go in multiple directions. Like I said, my theory is that like he's taking over so he can like give back to the Tusken Raiders,
Right?
So that because they're the true people, or you find out he killed that fucking tribe,
Well,
and when they weren't used to him.
I don't think we're gonna get that. Do you?
Cold-blooded, calculating monster.
No, I think
You don't know. You don't know where it goes because they're not.
Yeah.
Because when you see him in Mandalorian, he's dressed in it, but
Yep.
you don't see the tribe at all.
It's true.
The tribe that the Mandalorian's with is not the same tribe.
Right.
Now, part of me also thinks, this is my outspoil, is well, someone made a joke and said the one with the long hair is Al Jorgensen from
Okay, yeah.
But I think the one with long hair is a chick.
Could be.
That beats him up, like they spar a lot.
Yeah.
It's a woman. You
Huh.
kind of, especially if you pretend.
Right. All right.
You squint your eye. No, I think it's a woman. And I think they're gonna get married. My prediction. Boba Fett's gonna marry Tessa.
Well, we'll see. Okay, we'll see.
And her name is, Linda Fett, and they'll be like, "Do you take Linda to be your
Sure.
bride?" And he'll be like, "I do," and she's like, "Do you?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, oh god." I'm gonna stop myself there.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure that noise is just made all night after the wedding.
Yeah. Oof.
Spoilers for episode 4.
Yeah.
Look up that.
Well,
That'd be funny. I hope they do that. I hope that I kind of want this show to piss off some people.
yeah, it's on its
I
way.
do. I love it. I hope they do. I hope that there's me like I want to see like a video like Ben Shapiro being like, "They made Boba Fett. They made Boba. They're trying to take away masculinity
Yeah.
and white nationalism or something." I don't know. They took Boba Fett.
God. Well, I liked it. I'm excited to see the next one. Yeah, we'll see where this one goes.
I mean, it'd be kind of funny if that cool looking never shows up again. We're like, this is like,
Hey, what the fuck was that?
that guy was cool as fuck. They're like, listen, we didn't have the budget to do it. Cool. We were able to make him walk in.
We told him to dry clean the suit. He just threw it in the washer. We can't bring him back. We can't bring.
We kind of fucked it up, We threw in the bleach. Dude, they've been making these like Christmas action figures of Star Wars over the years.
Okay.
They did ones last year. They were awful. They like just repaint some of the Star Wars, but they did one, and I didn't know I never seen it in the store. I would actually buy this one. It was Chewbacca.
Okay.
Painted white, but they kind of make him look like Bumbles from Rudolph.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
I think I saw this on Twitter.
Yeah, it's real. It's a real thing.
Oh,
I was
man.
like, never saw it in the store. I'm like, oh, I would totally buy that.
Yeah.
I saw that one. All right. On that note, it's time to go, and we're done, right?
No,
Right.
now we have several.
Spider-Man and Boba Fett. We enjoyed. We enjoyed some light-hearted entertainment, and nothing bad has happened in the world in the past
Well,
2 years.
unfortunately, we have several bad things to talk about.
Like,
So clear your schedule. Clear your schedule. Well, it's weird. These aren't like a large number of topics, but they're kind of dense. The first one is the kids are going back to school after the winter break. And we're in the middle of the Omicron surge, and it's weird, like a lot of kids are going back to school. Some people feel very strongly that the kids got to get back to school. Other people wish that they could get back to school, but with more precautions. Ron DeSantis wants every kid to go back to school, but it's a little hard to tell because he sounds like he's breathing underwater or something.
Yeah, he's been missing in action for weeks, and he did some like press conferencing today, or whatever.
Yep. Oh,
he did not sound good.
Well, the original. He's been. I still follow a lot of Florida politics, and he's been gone for 3-4 weeks. And
Trump's been like just obliterating Florida.
Yeah, and Nikki Fried, one of the Democrats running again for the governorship, Charlie Crist being the other big one. Nikki Fried was hammering him like, where the fuck are you? Like a lot of people are sick. And then Ron DeSantis's office let out a story and said, and this I know part of this is true. Ron DeSantis's wife has, I want to say, breast cancer or something. And that
was way before he went missing.
Yeah, but they were saying that he was helping her with treatments and this, that, and whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And then that prompted a bunch of people to say, like, geez, what treatments is your wife using? Because all of the known treatments for this type of cancer involve using stem cells, and so
yeah, why would you use stem cells?
Did you go to a prayer circle or something? I mean, like, otherwise you've been
like, why would you? Well, that's always been funny about the COVID treatments, like all those like the right wing, they hate the vaccine, but they want to they'll be like, oh, you don't like therapies, and we're like, no, we're not against therapies. We just want to make sure people just don't get COVID.
Yeah,
that doesn't get to that point. And they want to push these super expensive therapies, but then it's like the joke is like these therapies were made due to stem cell research.
Yeah, and 2 out of the 3 vaccines were not made out of stem cell research. Anyway, so then Ron DeSantis gets on the camera today, and he sounds like he's breathing underwater. He sounds horrible. And he looks bad. He looks all like, doughy and sick and whatnot. So anyway, but yeah, the kids are going back to school. It is weird. You and I were talking about this a little bit before we started the show. It is tough. Like, I think at some point people just have to admit or acknowledge or something that public education isn't just about education. If it were just about education, then you hand out workbooks and you let kids go to school online or whatever. But that's not really what public education has become. It's become like a social services delivery place. If kids don't get back to
it is a daycare for I mean, the whole problem with the whole COVID and how the United States handled it is that we want businesses to thrive here, and businesses don't want to pay for days off. They don't want to pay for healthcare. They don't want to pay for any of these things in the United States. I mean, depending on the state you live in or how impoverished you are, the United States ain't gonna help you in shit, and you're kind of like out on your own. And so COVID comes, and the most realistic. The most real way to combat COVID was to do an actual shutdown.
Yep.
And that means everyone literally everyone that is not considered an essential worker. No, sorry, GameStop was not essential.
Right.
Nerds. Like grocery stores and like hospitals and shit. Those were essential. You shut down the government. You shut down not the government. You shut down the country for a month, and you make sure that people don't get the virus. The problem is our country's not built that way.
Nope.
And schools are not, and people are not allowed to take days off. Companies
Yeah.
don't want you to stay home. They hated that, they started doing some work from home, but a lot of companies fucking hated that because they really secretly just want you in there so they can torture you. They just
Well,
do. I mean, like, they saw productivity go up in lots of ways, but I mean, there is a sense of dread that you can't give to people if they're working from home. But I also
well,
feel like if they're working from home, they're not aware. Well, go ahead. What?
I think one of the things too is that a lot of people in management, middle managers and above, realized, oh, if everyone's at home working and they're super productive, what do they need me for? So I demand everyone come
So
back
as a
in.
delegate. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. I guess, but it's not even just that. So companies, like, they don't want to shut down. They want to make money because they don't have cover. Like, restaurants refuse to shut down because but the government came in and said, listen, we will cover you for this month.
Yeah.
You're not responsible. You're not going to go out of business. You're going to be fine. We're going to give you guys what on average you made last year,
Right.
or whatever. Just you didn't do that because the United States, like, some states try to do that more than other states. Republican states are definitely not going to allow that.
No.
They don't want people to even get the idea of not working. They got pissed when, like, people were making $600 extra, I guess, because of, like,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
that summer. And it was like, which was basically like the equivalent of getting like $15 to $20 an hour. And they're like, well, we don't want these people to get used to that.
Yeah.
Well, expect that.
It,
Like, why would these people want to go back to working at fucking Arby's when they were getting a better wage? I mean, for that 1 month, they're gonna have to go back to work, but it's like, holy shit, people are gonna, like, wake up and be like, I want more money. Like,
yeah.
there's so many reasons, and the schools being shut down, and of course we have a contingent of this country that hates public education and would love to find ways to erode it. So what better way to erode it than to have, like, Abbott say, make the schools feel not safe, so that some parents are not sending their kids to the
Yeah.
school, or sending them to private school where the joke was they were mandating masks in their private
Yeah.
organization. And that means you're now starving the school of money because every kid they lose money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
So there was that. There's so many factors involved that just allowed COVID to come in and decimate this country and to decimate it. And the whole idea of sending, like, in theory, kids should have been home. The whole thing, like, if the country just shut down for a month, we would not see these numbers.
No.
Would there have been more variants? I don't know. I mean, there's other countries in the world. But the United States does a splendid job on its own spreading the virus and making it populate.
Yeah. It is tough. I mean, I get I worked in schools for a long time, and schools provide an education, obviously. But they also provide food, like meals for kids.
Yeah.
And they also
too.
Yeah, and they also provide some rudimentary health care. I'm not saying that they're like hospitals or anything, but, like, often a kid will get, like, a scoliosis checkup or what?
Lice.
Yeah, lice checkups, or the nurse would notice that, like, oh, well, you came to school with, like, bruises all over you, maybe we should check that out, and, like, a lot of shit is just taken care of by schools. Oh, a kid's been gone for 12 days, let's go look for him, instead of, like, a weirdo parent. I mean, like, that's how
they serve a purpose in the community. But the problem is that, like, it's like there's so many factors involved of, like, the school could be shut down for a month, or people could be from home. If the parents can be home,
yeah,
the parents can't be home because of capitalism.
Right. Well, yeah, and there's a bunch of factors in there. So I don't know. And again, you and I were talking about this beforehand. Like, I do believe, and I know you do too. We've talked about this. Yeah, kids should be in school. That's a good natural place for them to go and learn and socialize and X, Y, and Z. But we're stuck in this weird situation where anywhere, depending on where you live, anywhere between 50 to 30% of your neighbors are death cultists.
Yeah, they're anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers.
Yeah.
If you live in certain areas of the country, the governor or the head of the school board are anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers. And the school, not just do you have the school open, but the school is not mandating masks, and none of the staff is wearing masks. And that's the least they can do during a pandemic. It's the least they can do is wear a mask. And that to me is a whole nother level of insanity that I don't get.
It's frustrating for me because I think that there were, and there still are, there were so many opportunities to make this easier. I 100% get someone telling me, look, I don't want to wear a mask forever for the rest of my life. I may choose to do that, but I don't think it's unreasonable that someone say to me, I don't want to wear a mask 24 hours a day.
That person, that the whole point is to the whole point is to make sure that this virus doesn't spread.
Right.
So that it doesn't grow and mutate and turn to other variants or God knows what else.
Well, I'm just saying, I get that, but if then just get vaccinated, right? If everyone were vaccinated, then maybe we wouldn't need to wear masks. Or if everyone had just stayed home for 2 weeks when it was real bad last year, maybe things would have been
churches.
Yeah. Right. Or even if you're just use some fucking common sense.
I mean, it depends on the parts of the country that you live in, the parts of, and again, where you live, who the leadership is, and also the kind of people. Like I said, people on the East Coast, stuff like that, they seem to follow civic duty more.
Yeah.
Well, West in California, they have this free spirit bullshit. And honestly, to me, it's a form of selfishness. It's not freedom. It's selfishness. And it's actually a lack of care of your fellow man.
I mean, we're also talking about pretty rank hypocrisy, because there's a certain group of people that believe wholeheartedly, look, we live in a society, in a community, we have civic obligations, we pay our taxes, the government takes care of A, B, and C. I have an obligation to my neighbors. That's one way, and you see that a lot in New England and the North Atlantic and whatnot. And then you have other people that are living out there in Hades nuts, Nevada, or Devil's Taint, Utah, that are completely off the grid. They're 100% self-sufficient. They feel independent. They don't think they have any obligations to their neighbors, and they don't go to the hospital, and they live out in a yurt, in a fucking blazing desert. They're fine. It's these people that want to claim independence and no obligation against anyone.
But they live in a community.
Who also want to ride the public bus and eat at Starbucks.
Right. Yeah. A person who lives in the outback in Australia.
Yeah.
Go ahead, live in there. Go hunt snipe, do what you got to do. You can, drink from those acorns that they drink in the Boba Fett show.
Right. You're right.
Live your fucking life. You need a gun out there to hunt.
Sure.
Wild boar. Go ahead. Right. It's the people that live in the fucking suburbs.
Yes.
Or the city or whatever, and they don't respect anyone around them.
Yeah, if you're some raging libertarian out in the middle of the outback, you're right. You don't owe me anything. I don't have any business in your life. That is 100% true.
Yeah, and if you're respecting you.
But if you're coughing and sitting next to me on an airplane, you absolutely do owe it to me to get vaccinated or to wear a mask.
The past 2 years have literally told you to your face without saying it. They don't give a fuck about you.
No,
they've literally been saying that for the past 2 years, these people, and they won't admit to it. They won't admit to it. Or they'll say, well, you're wearing a mask, you're fine. It's what you're doing, because the masks are effective when we're all wearing them, or at least 90%, 95%, that's when they work.
If people did the bare basic minimum that would be expected of humans living together in a society, i.e., get vaccinated. If you're sick, stay home. If you're coughing, don't go out. if wear a mask when you're at a crowded venue or whatever. If people did the very basics, you probably could get very soon to a fairly normal state. But it's hard to envision that we'll ever get to that normal state, given the way the world works today. Even in the best states where like 70-80% of the people are vaccinated, A, you still got 20% that aren't, and B, we live in the fucking 21st century where there's interstates and airports, and you're likely to get unvaccinated. You know how many people want to go to Vermont to go skiing?
Yeah.
Plenty of people from like
Colorado is a huge destination for Texans.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, even if you live in a community that's 100% vaccinated, you're still going to get some chud strolling through.
South Dakota, which like they were like not last year, but last year, 2020, like they weren't great, but then fucking Sturgis came, just like, so you have all these out of towner assholes who are like making it their pride. They made it their personality to like not wear masks and like not give a fuck about you, and like
Florida. I mean,
ravage in South Dakota.
I mean, Florida sucks to begin with for this, but Florida's built on tourism. I mean, like
the fact that like they had the beaches open and all those kids, like this was like in 2020, they would get COVID and shit, and but they weren't from Florida. They would go back home,
right? So
family in Texas or Mississippi or fucking Chicago or whatever, and it's like it is. The United States has been COVID's biggest biggest sponsor or whatever. Like it's been its biggest advocate.
Well, I will say it's exposed, and we've known this for years. I mean, like in a way, we're fortunate that the coronavirus isn't terribly deadly. It is very deadly for a lot of people. I'm just saying it's not like Ebola or something, or like
your insides liquefy.
Yeah, because like this is really kind of maybe now the next president or whatever won't dismantle the virology response unit,
right? Like Trump did.
Yeah, but like this is, and we've talked about this on the show before. This is what happens when you have an interconnected global community with relatively inexpensive travel and relatively easy access to different places and global warming and deforestation. I mean, like,
and we have recently we saw like CEOs of airplane companies like Southwest basically saying like complaining like, hey, you know what? I don't like that the CDC says that you have to wait 2 weeks. Can we shorten it?
Yeah.
5 days? Because we have that new like coach minus where they literally are standing that we want to test out, and the planes aren't packed enough to do that.
We have one where we duct tape you to the engines, and
Did
another
those seats over the years that they were like planning, like ones where you're like literally facing people, and it was like it's like you're on the gravitron or something. It's like literally just laying on a flat. It was awful. I'm like, I'd rather like never fly if that was the case. Like,
well, I don't know, but it is tough. I mean, like, I've kept my kid in school this entire time. It was like really, kind of
you, sir, are a daredevil.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like I look and I say like we've taken some calculated risks, and I still believe that you can do this well if you take reasonable precautions.
We sent our son back the other day. Like,
yep.
He started and he's fully vaccinated. We wanted to wait till he was fully vaccinated. It was like already like the end of the year, so we figured it's kind of stupid to send like
Oh yeah.
So we waited till this year, and we're kind of like, I mean, we're worried, but we're not as worried. We're all vaccinated. We're all boosted. He's vaccinated. I don't want to get it. I don't want to have it. I don't, even if like vaccinated, like I don't know what's gonna happen, and but I want to send back, but like I said, it just drives me nuts that like people don't take it seriously where we live in this area. They just don't. They don't care. And again, it's like, and like I said earlier, before we move on to the next thing, it's like somebody's basically told you for the past 2 years, they literally don't give a fuck about you. Yeah. And it's not like I expect anyone to give a fuck about me. I don't know you. I mean, like, but as a community, how do you ever really have a community if like, but I guess if the
Well,
majority of the community doesn't give a shit, then you're like, I don't know.
the closest I can come to it is like drunk driving, you know, and but the difference there, because like drunk driving, if I get in my car, if I get hammered and I get in my car and I drive off on the roads, I'm basically saying like my need to go to Walmart is more important than your life, you know, like
You're not even thinking about that person. You're not even.
yeah, but that I guess that's the difference is what I was going to say is that like when you drink that much, your ability to reason goes down. You know, you're almost like you almost get to the point where it's like, well, of course they did something stupid. They were hammered. You know, I mean, it's a miracle we don't all drive drunk because the more drunk you get, like the less accurate your decision making is. But with this, these people are like 100% stone cold sober, making decisions that are like, I don't know. I mean, a lot more people died of the coronavirus last year than drunk driving, right?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Probably. I'm sure you can look it up.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that just in 2020, more people probably just because people weren't driving as much because they were home.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. Let's see.
That was the other thing too about like people working from home and stuff. I'm sure like, you know, insurance companies like actually gave money back to people because like they reduced.
Oh yeah.
Because there weren't as many accidents. I mean, when I used to commute to work, I would see like 4 accidents at least every day. I would see anything from a fender bender to just like something horrific.
All right. Drinking and driving nationally kills on average 28 people a day.
10,000 people died of COVID a day in the United States.
Yeah. So COVID is COVID kills far more people than drunk driving, right?
People are scared of shark attacks. I'm sure that's even way less than drunk.
Yeah. But like,
I mean, drunk driving's still an issue, and those are high numbers, and we shouldn't have that.
Right.
We can all agree on that, but people, for some fucking reason, can't agree on the existence of a virus because a political party and a group decided it's not real, and we're gonna like profit off of like spreading misinformation.
Right. But we all pretty much agree, even though plenty of people do it, so we all pretty much agree that drunk driving is not a good idea, and we also agree, despite their relative rarity, that it's not a good idea to go to a crowded beach and shove bloody chum down your shorts, you know, like and swim next to people,
like your body.
Yeah, but this is like these people that like refuse to wear a mask and walk into like a Costco or something. That is the equivalent to going on a jet ski in a crowded beach and throwing chum into the water. You know, I mean, it's basically the same thing. That's remarkable. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take to get through to these people. I don't think anything will.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think people don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, it just comes down to that. But then you see those other people who like know people who had it or they had it and they still don't take it seriously. And I'm just like, well, here's the funny thing about COVID. It's not funny though, but the nation's IQ has been lowered because of COVID. COVID brain is a real thing. COVID can cause brain damage.
Yeah.
It has been known if kids get it, it could reduce their like 10% of their IQ.
Yeah.
It's happened to adults. That is kind of frightening in a way.
Well, yeah, it is.
It is because the smarter you are, in theory, you make better choices. Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I think in general, I mean,
can't function at all. But you know, you have like more rational thought. So that's kind of frightening when you think about like how much en masse people are like. The best was some woman was like, it was like a TikTok woman, like she's never got her sense of smell or taste back. She had COVID like a year ago, never got back, and then showing it. And they're like, dude, you got brain damage. You literally have brain damage. Like that is
fuck.
You're not getting senses anymore.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's like cognitive
permanent brain
of some sort.
Like it's not funny. It's kind of fucked up and it's kind of sad. Like if I lost my sense of smell, well, maybe I wouldn't care. Fart City. I don't smell anything. But man, not being able to taste things,
Yeah, that's depressing.
that's depressing, man. Like that's one of the best gifts of humanity is the ability
Yeah.
to like actually enjoy things.
Can you
Like,
imagine going through life without the cool sensation of a Baja Blast just traveling?
ka-ching.
Could you imagine the tragedy of never biting into a crisp gordita? And like,
This is how Joseph pays the bills. He works in.
gotta make up for Christmas. Gotta make up for
Yeah. What do you get from them?
it's heartburn.
So bad. The idea of now that you can't go through life with cool sensation of a flavor blasted Bob. Like, I mean, think of all those people to be missing out on being blasted with flavor.
Yeah, flavor.
I mean, just the whole. All right. Well, before we move on to the next thing, I think it's really funny though to this day that I've been seeing Trump really double down on telling people to get vaccinated.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Kind of throwing them, kind of like just not giving a shit that the right wing for the past 2 years have been running a anti-COVID, anti-mask, anti-vax movement, and they're really like it is a big part of their.
Oh, it's a big part of their identity.
It's like 90% of everything they're about.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I think you should get vaccinated, and I almost feel like that's his way of saying he ain't running.
Well,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, like, I guess that's it. If you think Trump is not running, then he better get on the coronavirus vaccine train because that's his only legacy. Like that he has any reasonable claim
to make people forget about January 6th.
Yeah. I just think too, though, that like Trump has been absent from discussion. Basically, he's blocked out of Twitter, Facebook, whatever. The only time he ever goes anywhere, it's like with basically some like sycophant, super friendly.
Like Candace Owens or Sean Hannity, or
he doesn't have.
He hasn't been Rogan yet.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have the. I don't think he's used to having to defend himself. Frankly, I mean, like he usually used to have a real good sense. He'd say something and then he'd feel it out and then he'd like reverse if it wasn't going well. And, he was pretty good at stuff like that. But now, like, he just says whatever the fuck he wants because there's no friction, Yeah.
And like, what was it? Like after that interview with Candace Owens had to put out this bizarre statement saying, well, you see, it's because he's old and he comes from the old school and that's why he's for vaccines. And it's like, wait, what? First of all, that fucking piece of shit is vaccinated. She went to there was a photo that got out of her going to a UFC fight or something in Madison Square Garden.
Uh-huh.
You have to be vaccinated to
get
in Square Garden. And this woman tells people every day she's never been vaccinated. She's never going to. And so they're like, okay, so you either got vaccinated and you're lying or you brought like a fake card. And that's actually like really illegal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, nothing was going to happen to her anyway. But like, I don't know. That's just disgusting. Anyone that's advocating for people at this point to not get vaccinated are they're scum.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about you.
Well, they're clearly like a grifter of some sort.
They're playing into the worst impulses of people.
Yeah. Well, I see a lot of people on lately I've been following, not like literally following, but I've been reading a lot of like libertarian accounts on Twitter. I used to like really be interested into the QAnon stuff, but they're just boring now. I mean, like it was really interesting when they were getting ready for Trump to come back, but like now they're just so insane. It's like it doesn't even. It's
the
not
JFK thing and everything.
Yeah, it's just like okay, this doesn't even. This isn't funny anymore. This is just like weird. Yeah. But these libertarians, like my favorite thing is like all these libertarians on Twitter talk about how they'll spend all day bashing Biden, bashing liberals, bashing Democrats, and then they'll say, I'm no Trump fan, but then something like super Trump supportive.
Yep.
And then you say to them, like, hey, why are you you're just MAGA, right? And they're like, oh no, I hate both equally. But however, Biden really sucks, and Trump had some good, but
I hate both, but
they won't come out and say they're
criticize Democrats and just kind of say how, hey, you know what, some of those ideas the Republicans have are not bad.
Well, I'll tell you, whenever I see them now, I use the Twitter advanced search feature, and I'll type in the what I'm looking for, Trump, but, and then I'll put in their username, and there's like thousands of tweets from each of them. I'm no Trump fan, but, and then something super pro Trump. That's like, that's so weird
game, and they think it's like they're being clever, and it's the weakest fucking thing. I mean, I'm sure one or two people fall for that, but
well, you know what else they all do? And you and you saw this one that I'm talking about. They don't respond, they don't reply to tweets. They quote your tweet and reply to it. And like they all do that. Like,
so weird. I had some people do that. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'll let a MAGA person follow me on Twitter. I don't care. Yeah. And then every time I responded, they just like quote tweet me. It was like 50 times. I was like, all right, I'm blocking you. You're weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I guess it's like
bizarre.
It's just weird. Yeah. I was like, why?
What do you think you're doing? Are you trying to like make me look? You think you're making me look bad?
Yeah. And I have my notifications sent so that when people do that to me, I don't receive notifications, just because I was getting a whole bunch of them for a long time. And every once in a while I'll go check in my mentions, and I'm like, some motherfucker like quote tweeted me like a week ago, and 70 people piled on calling me like a soy boy or something. Like, what is going on? What are you guys even doing? Like, what?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Like I said, the ones that do that quote tweet thing is odd. Like,
yeah, I don't understand it.
Quote tweet somebody that you're not like if you see a tweet from a big account and you're just quote tweeting because you want to leave a comment or something and it's funny or whatever. But like, so like you're having a conversation with someone, they just keep quote tweeting you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I have quote tweeted big accounts or whatever, or if I'm trying to make a point specific to the quote, but not necessarily in reply to the quote. But like, yeah, it's just a weird little quirk. And anyway, I've become like super interested in these libertarians. They're all super big MAGA people. Now they don't want to say they're MAGA. Yep. They're all like libertarian, but they're all libertarian, pro-life libertarians.
Yep.
It's another like weird little quirk of theirs.
Again, we talked about this last week, and I said that's just Republican.
Yeah. Well, it's not it's MAGA.
It's just people don't want to admit it's not. It's still. They think it's still sexy to say they're libertarian. Like it's like, what's that? Oh, that sounds interesting. Like, oh, that doesn't sound like a conservative. That doesn't sound like a.
Sounds young and hip and maybe a little revolutionary or whatever.
Yeah, like hey, free spirit shit. Like hey, they're not complete bigots.
Right.
It's just another selling point for right-wing politics.
But that's every single one of their beliefs is literally a Trump platform piece. I mean, it's
which is the GOP platform.
Yeah. Well, it's the GOP platform, but with like weird added parts. Like the GOP never used to be for tariffs, and Trump was super for tariffs.
Yeah.
And Trump had a few curveballs in his repertoire that he borrowed from Democrats or whatever, and it just made for a very odd mix. And these people are all like that specific mix, but they're not MAGA. But they just happen to be
MAGA. But I'm
like
I'm 100% behind everything and for.
There's this one account where she like said, "I'm not MAGA. I've never been MAGA." I look at her. I do the advanced search, and like literally, there's like a dozen tweets that say just literally like, "I'm so glad I voted for Trump, MAGA." Like, what are you?
That's weird.
Why? And I said, look, you clearly were MAGA, and now you're saying you're not. What changed? I was never MAGA. Oh, okay. I don't know. All right. So anyway, switching topics because we don't.
We were talking about like Trump with the COVID thing and everything, and kind of just segueing to the 1/6 thing because that has to do with Trump.
And this is the 1 year anniversary of that.
We're at the 1 year anniversary of possibly the most craziest thing I've ever seen on TV.
I was talking to my wife. I had the TV on in the background with the volume low, and I'd look over and I'd see all this shit happening. My wife came up from her lunch break. She took lunch, went downstairs, came back up. She's like, "You gotta watch this shit." And at that moment, I looked over and I saw Secret Service agents with their guns drawn, guarding a door like the fucking first 5 minutes of A New Hope. It was like
super crazy. The whole thing, like, we knew like there was like a weird rally in the beginning, and like Matson Cawthorn gave a speech, and Trump gave a speech, and like all these different like MAGA people. Giuliani gave a speech at this thing, and then Paul I don't think gave a speech, but he did like that fist up thing, like a Nazi salute from the distance. The whole thing was planned that there was going to be a speech that would coincide with them. Basically, it was just every January 6th or whatever, after the election, they certify it, right?
Yeah.
And it goes through where the Congress and Senate, it's just a procedural thing. And the Congress, right up from the bat, contested Pennsylvania or whatever.
Yep.
And as they did that, and then all the Republicans started doing that performative bullshit.
So many of them. Not just like a couple knuckleheads, like a lot of them.
The entire party like contested it. And it was like, oh God, this is gonna like last 3 weeks. So
right.
You started seeing people storming the Capitol at the same time. It synchronized. It all happened at the same time as they were doing that, and then that got shut down because people were breaking in, and they had to get these people into another room.
Right.
And again, the best thing I don't think people remember is that Marjorie Taylor Greene, all these other assholes refused to wear a mask in the room. They were all stuck in together for hours.
Yeah.
Several people got COVID because of that.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's totally insane. So a bunch of chuds that were part of Trump. There's a bunch of 3%ers, a bunch of Proud Boys, and other violent right-wing groups stormed the Capitol. Some pretended to be just protesters. Some were just, useful idiots. Like some shaman and some other wackadoos. And then there were some that were there to literally were soldiers that were there to kill people.
Yeah.
They stormed the Capitol. There was this guy, Walton Madison, I followed, and I think I retweeted what he said because he attended it to report on it. And he put out, I didn't finish it, but it was like a YouTube video compiled of him and his friend going there. And he's like telling his friend in the beginning, the night, it was like 4 a.m. or whatever. They were like in Pennsylvania or something. And he's telling his friend, you have to wear this shit or you will get, he had to, if you're wearing a face mask, it has to be like an American flag. You have to wear this hat. You have to, if you do not blend in with these people, they will know right away. And you will be either you'll regret it.
Right.
And he knew it was going to be violent. He knew that this thing was pre-planned. They were talking about it for months. January 6th was going to be a big thing. I don't think people realized that it was going to be violent. They thought it was just going to be some stupid protest. And it was like Charlottesville on steroids.
Oh, yeah.
Charlottesville was another right-wing backed, violent domestic terrorist attack that was supported by bad foreign actors. It's really crazy. But that was a warm-up.
Yeah.
For January 6th. Let me see if I can find this guy's tweet. I retweeted it, so it shouldn't be too hard to find.
Well, it is, and I'll just say this as you're looking for that. I really liked it, and we can talk about it more in a second. But when Vice President Harris started speaking today, she said,
I saw Biden. What did she say?
Well, she started out, and it's not. I believe it was a really good opening line. She basically said, look, there's been several times in our history where we've been tested. And she's like, December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor, and September 11th with the World Trade Center bombing, and then January 6th. And she was saying January 6th is just as significant of an event as September 11th and December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. And I thought that was a really strong and bold and accurate statement. I was like, that you're right. That
Or
this
the
was
right wings going after, like, they want to downplay September. They
of
want to
course they
downplay.
do. These motherfuckers, a lot of them were in on it and planned it, and they would have gladly taken it to its logical conclusion if they hadn't been thwarted. You
Or
know?
they don't have anything to say about it because they don't want to affect them politically, but they secretly
Yeah.
support.
I think if you get some of them in a room alone, they might cop to it. But like that's even more disappointing, you know?
January 6th is the crime that it is, and people actually go to jail, and some actual high power people, that means politicians or people involved with politics and media or anything like that, face some kind of jail or something or loss of power that will hurt any incoming Republican from ever running. It hurts the party. I mean, to say that
Well,
the party is guilty of is not most of the party is guilty of January 6th. So a lot of these motherfuckers don't want you to think that this was a Republican-backed coup.
you had Lindsey Graham calling the Secretary of State of Georgia, like a fucking senator from South Carolina, calling the governor of Georgia another
the governor. It was like
the Secretary of State.
Yeah, like
Whatever. The Secretary of State.
It's like, what the fuck do you have? You're the senator of Georgia.
South Carolina. Yeah. And then saying like you need to lose some ballots, or like these are fucking crimes, like the most fundamental crime against
voter fraud. I mean, these motherfuckers were trying to like commit the biggest voter fraud.
Yeah, there's no. I guess that's where I get frustrated, and I didn't mean to like get frustrated with this one, but like Lindsey Graham should be in prison. Josh Hawley should be in prison. Mo Brooks should be in prison. Donald Trump should be in prison right now.
That are involved with the insurrection, like, dude, treason's death.
Yeah.
I mean, like, these people committed treason.
They should be in prison, and it's remarkable that they're not even under arrest.
So I'm just gonna read this real quick, and then I'll talk about Merrick Garland and Biden. But like, it's like Walter Masterson on Twitter. He wrote, "I was at the." He's like famous for like he went and he cornered Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz.
Oh yeah.
Rally things, and he went up to him and he's like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited to see you! I'm so excited!" And they're like, "Oh, thanks." And he's like, "Yeah, you know, I don't think you're a pedophile, man. I don't think you're a disgusting pedophile, like that." And Matt Gaetz was like, "Get him out of here!" So good. And Marjorie Taylor Greene's like, "What's going on?" She's like a bullet. He goes, "I was at the Capitol Hill on January 6th. Conservatives love spreading myths about that day. But I was literally on the steps during the riot, so please take several seats and let me break down the popular myth at thread." He goes, "There's footage of the police just inviting everyone in." He goes, "Capitol Police were outnumbered 100 to 1. The only way for them to stay alive was to move out of the way. Thousands surrounded every entrance at once. To this day, I do not get how there was absolutely no backup for hours." Yeah. Well, I think the answer is that simple. There was no backup for hours because the Trump administration planned it.
Yeah.
Made sure, and probably made sure that the police there that were there most of that day were people who maybe were known to not be Trump supporters.
Well, they
would get the brunt, and some of them did get killed and hurt. I wouldn't be shocked if
I wouldn't either.
That day, you're staying home that day, or you're attending that day. You're on the attendees. But I bet you, like some of those cops, they were not Trump. I wouldn't shock. They would know. They could find out and be like,
"It's not hard.
Who do you think in there is a?" All right. And then he goes, "It was only a few hundred Trump supporters inside the building." This is the myth part. "The people outside had no idea what was going on." He goes, "That is BS for the following reasons. Every single entrance was being ripped open or broken to gain access. I literally have footage of this." He goes, "2. People were entering the Capitol and coming back out to report on what was happening inside. I have footage of a man telling a cheering crowd that Pelosi's office has been sacked and her laptop stolen. Please stop the 'we had no idea what took place inside' narrative." He goes, "What about the BLM riots?" He goes, "What about them? There have been thousands of protesters prosecuted for breaking the law. Stop pretending you don't understand the difference between burning down Target and attacking our nation's capital during the election certification."
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I know they try to like do that whataboutism. It's like, get the fuck out of here. if you genuinely hate the concept of riots and property damage, feel free to disapprove of both. Otherwise, this is old just code for I support the January 6th riots because it was my team. And he goes, P.S. Ashley Babbitt is a domestic terrorist.
Yeah. I saw
So,
Ashley Babbitt's mom on Twitter today, a video of her talking. Her mom's awful. Mom's talking about, mom's like, no wonder your kid turned out trash. You're a trash parent. You probably raised her shitty.
Yeah, they're garbage. These people are just, and the fucked up thing is it's in their, like, that's what's fucking scary is their brains are so warped that they really do think we are in a civil war.
Yeah.
They really do. Like, we're just not partaking in it because we're living our normal lives and just functioning in a community, trying to have our kids go to school and, like, you know, stay safe, make a living, get a house, you know.
That's crazy.
Out do stuff, go to see Spider-Man. These fucking people are like trying to overthrow the government for fucking insane reasons that, like, so Donald Trump could collect more tax about, you know, so his family can collect more inheritance when he drops dead. Like, Taser Balls died so that, like, Q6718, whatever that fucking kid's name, Elon Musk kid, won't have to pay as much death tax, as they like to call it, or as what it is called, the estate tax. It's like, good job, Taser Balls.
Well, I was happy to see Biden and Harris come out swinging today. And
he's pretty good. I mean, he didn't mention Trump's name once, but he called Matt, said he was sitting in his office watching the whole thing happen. Give a shit.
Yeah. It's something. I mean, like,
what were you saying though about Merrick Garland? You said you were disappointed in he gave a speech yesterday.
He did. He basically came out and he said, look, this is very serious. We've prosecuted 700 cases. We've got, like, these opened up. And he said, like, the way we've decided, the way a prosecution works is that you work through the lower level ones first, and then you work your way up to the higher level ones. And that
alluding the fact that it's like, yeah, you've been seeing a lot of, like, morons like the QAnon shaman go to jail, but, like, we're literally working our way up, and you're going to start seeing bigger fish start to get fried soon.
And but he didn't come out, and he did come out. Merrick Garland did say, we're going to follow this trail no matter where it leads, or no matter how high up it goes, something like that. You know, that's good. However, we're a year into it, and all we've seen is a few chuds go away, mostly for like 30 to 60 days. A few have gone away for up to 4 years. Jenna Ryan.
I saw her TikTok page. This fucking lady's, like, just having fun on TikTok, and I'm just like, he's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah. Well,
the funny thing is, the one smart thing that woman did was she turned off her comments, so you couldn't comment on it. Like, you gotta do TikToks in prison.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. She tweets a lot of, like, election conspiracy stuff, and she posts a lot of shit. And I'll tell you, I'll bet you a lot of that gets forwarded directly to her parole officer when she's out on prison, you know, and when she gets released eventually. I don't think, I think that's the one thing that makes me happy is that, like, and this is a fucked up thing in its own right. Once someone gets involved in the criminal justice system, it is a never ending headache. It is a never, and you're never out of it, you know.
Throw back for, like, the dumbest thing.
And that's bullshit, and that's wrong, and they should remedy that and fix it for everyone. But until they do, idiots like Jenna Ryan are going to have to submit to, like, sobriety checks. Idiots like Jenna Ryan are going to have to go travel to a probation office once a month for the next 5 years and, like, pee in a cup, you know. And that's tough, you know. That's not anything anybody wants to deal with. But that was my disappointment with Merrick Garland, is like, okay, I get that intellectually, but come on. I mean, like, you have a year left tops.
I mean, at some point it's going to be like, then it gets, like, super political, which it is. I mean, the whole thing was political.
But you only go after the low level people to get the high level people if you need the lower level people's cooperation. I don't think you need that. Trump is on film breaking laws.
Yes, I posted. So I did some artwork for this writer and the January 6th drawing, and it's like Trump, his head's top of his head's removed, and it's all like QAnon shaman,
Yeah.
Ashley Babbitt, the Camp Auschwitz guy, and Bake Velasquez,
Yeah.
kind of representing all those people sprouting out of his head with the pink goo coming out, which is, I guess, remnants of his brain or whatever. But like, I posted that, and I just basically said that, like, whatever. Right? Basically, just said that, like, here, pull this up.
Yeah.
Said, happy January 6th. Don't forget that all the leadership of the GOP planned violent coup attempt and attack on our nation's capital last year have not faced any charges yet. They still reside in the media, Congress, Senate, and Supreme Court. If these people do not face charges for that day, it will happen again.
Yeah. That's it. That's it.
I mean, the one thing they need to be going after too is any of these motherfuckers. There's people who attended January 6th that are running in 2022 for like the House, local delegation. Those people should not be allowed to run.
No.
Committed sedition. Like, this is ridiculous. I don't know. It is insane. So like, sort of like Ted Cruz, who was one of the biggest supporters of January 6th, backpedaling now, and he claimed it was like, he said it was a domestic terrorist attack. And I guess he went on Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson like, ripped him apart, but not because like Tucker is part of that movement, but because like, how dare you betray the chuds that support you? I think Ted Cruz is desperate to try to. He wants to. A lot of these guys want to normalize themselves as possible, and he'll still vote terribly and stuff like that. But he wants to run for president, or he has higher aspirations, or he wants to run for Senate again at least. And the last thing you want to do, especially at who knows, maybe they are speeding up the process, and they're because Ted Cruz is changing his tune now, and it's like, well, he knows it's going to be a fucking bowl that's going to drop soon.
I think you're right, and this I don't want to. I'm not jumping to the end like prematurely, but the last thing we were going to talk about is how Dan Crenshaw is going after Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I think
talk about that with this. It's all part of that.
Yeah, I think you're right that there's.
It's because I want to talk about other things anyway. There, January 6th. So Dan Crenshaw has been kind of going after Marjorie Taylor Greene on Twitter and stuff, just going out and straight up saying, even though she's not on Twitter anymore, I guess her personal page is still up on Twitter.
Yeah, she
can't do what she did with her other page.
I think President Trump's Twitter was still around too. Like,
no, they removed
his POTUS one was taken away too.
Oh, he wasn't president anymore, so they were able to.
Yeah, well, the POTUS account was still active.
I think they shortly removed that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene's official account is still there, and her personal account is gone.
Yeah, and of course the right wing was crying and bitching.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Yeah, I love
it. You. Hey, you know what? They're a private company.
Yeah.
They can do what the fuck they want. They could silence me and you anytime they want.
Think of Twitter as a gay cake.
And you know what?
That helps. You know
what?
Think of Twitter as a gay cake. If that helps,
you
know,
cakes.
Right. The right wing was bitching for years that private companies
pay for. That's what they call it. I remember. I didn't know. I used to call them like rainbow cookies or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's like my guitarist in the band. He was all into like from like metal and all that stuff. And he's like, "Can you pass the penny for?" And I'm like, he's like serious. Like it wasn't like a joke. And I was like, "What? That's the what? The penny for?" And they're like, "The fuck you talking?" And that's what they are.
Nice. And I love it. I love those cakes.
Funny hearing him say that and just like his escalated himself. "Oh, can you pass the penny for?" But that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. So Marjorie Taylor Greene got removed from Twitter because she's spreading COVID misinformation.
Yeah.
For a long time now. And in fact, Twitter let her on for as long as they did. Listen, they don't want to be held liable, too. They're constantly letting these people spread misinformation on their platform, they should be held liable.
Well, I think too that and this may be true with some of the politicians too, to a lesser extent, but like Twitter needs a little bit of controversy to keep things interesting, but like they can't become 4chan, right? Like,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense business wise if Twitter becomes no big companies are advertising on 4chan, right? Like that's not a business model. So Twitter needs to have some veneer of respectability. And if it just goes to hell because of like idiots like Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these like bizarro COVID deniers and conspiracy theorists, then eventually IBM or Apple or whatever, they're going to be like, well, we're not going to advertise on Twitter anymore. That's just like a fucking clown show, you know?
Or so small companies are going to be like, we're not going to pay for advertising and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, these idiots, they want to like, it should be a public utility. Like all of a sudden now they're for public spaces and government, which is hysterical.
It really is. Their answer to everything is the government should make them.
Right. They're against a government being involved in anything, but when they hate abortions, and then all of a sudden government's important, and they want to like anytime it involves denying rights to people, that's when the government needs to be involved.
So
that seems tyrannical.
It's so bizarre.
They claim the government's tyrannical when it involves like putting in like FDA rules that say like you can't poison milk, but like.
Well, if you were just
tyranny, which involves like denying people human rights and stuff like that, that's not tyranny.
So, I mean, like Twitter's not going to tolerate that shit because they want to make money. They want to sell advertising.
And they probably got like so many reports that they can't keep her on there anymore. And but like, so what's his name again? Dan Crenshaw has been kind of going after her and claiming that she's a grifter, that she's not a real politician like him. And she's all about theatrics and it's all theatrics.
Yeah, it's a grift.
But then it's funny if you hear that and you don't know who Dan Crenshaw is, you're like, yeah, that's a really good point. I'm glad that guy's saying that. And then you look at Dan Crenshaw and you're like, oh wait, this guy pretty much votes on the same exact things that she votes on.
Yeah.
He voted against putting Biden in as president. Yep. He was one of the Republican congressmen who basically bolstered the January 6 people by basically agreeing with them, pushing the big lie, as they called it. He also puts out videos where he pretends he's like Nick Fury, a Marvel character, where he's clearly fucking off. And I would assume that's very theatrical, literally. Yep. So I think it's just funny. He's a hypocrite. I'm happy to see it, but I think it's very important that people know who is saying this because he is no. I mean, like, if anything, the joke would be, I would say it's kind of sexist. Because why is it you're saying the same, literally pushing the same bullshit that she pushes, but she's some wacky cat lady.
Yeah, well,
you're this like He-Man veteran who makes videos where he skydives. And
if it weren't for Matt Gaetz and Madison Cawthorn, I would say that there's a sexism problem at play because Bober and Green get a lot of shit, but then like so do Gaetz and Cawthorn.
Well, I would say it's ableism there if you're talking about
Cawthorn,
Matt Gaetz.
Well,
yeah, I know what you mean. Like it could come off like that. Like, there's equally like when they go after like AOC or Ilhan Omar. I mean, it's race and it's sexism. I would say, it could sound like if you're just going after Boebert all the time, it's a little sexist.
It's a little sexist.
So, but she is also legitimately a twit.
Yeah.
These are twits. I would say though to look at Dan Crenshaw and be like, oh yeah, he's the normal one. And he's right. Like he's the real Republican. He's the real conservative. Marjorie Taylor Greene is just a grifter. But he pushes the same crap she pushes. Pretty much follow. And again, he does performative bullshit just on a bigger budget. So
Well,
fuck him. I
oh
mean,
yeah, he's
he's
garbage.
shit. He's garbage, and he's probably what he's trying to do. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene is an easy villain. She's an easy villain.
Yeah,
Like,
well, she plays the part. She
yeah,
wants to be a heel.
she's a horrible person. So it is literally punching down on Dan Crenshaw's part. He probably has more money backing him than she, even though the joke is she's one of the biggest fundraisers for the.
Yeah,
That's the joke. She probably does a better job than he does. So he's probably like pissed. That's why he's going after her. He wants to bring it down. So
yeah.
he's the guy that raises all the money, whatever. I mean, regardless, it's just funny to watch. I just want people to know that this guy sucks just as bad. Like,
Oh, he's terrible.
he's absolutely terrible. And to think that he is better than her in because he has a more serious voice, like,
Well, I would say he's probably smarter.
family, what?
He's probably smarter and can get more things done.
Maybe. I think it's again, it's just like I'm a military dude, and
Yeah.
this is some wacky cat lady. So
Well,
you're taking me seriously, even though we literally stand for the same fucking thing and push the same shit.
if we assume that Trump is done, like a lot of this assumes that Trump isn't going to be the next nominee, then you do have players left trying to jockey for position, and you have like a Ron DeSantis, which is basically a Trump clone.
As a milksop Trump. He can't do what Trump does. He can try.
Right.
He can't. He cannot do. He has zero personality. He doesn't have Trump's entertainment. He's not gonna be able to throw insults the way Trump did. He's not gonna have. He comes in with no equity that Trump had on a performance level.
But you have.
He wasn't in Home Alone too, as far as I
know. You have other candidates, and like a lot of them want access to money, like big donor money, and I think that's why you see like Ted Cruz trying to figure out like how far can I deviate from MAGA without Tucker yelling at me, and like you have not Madison Cawthorn, you have
well, Dan Crenshaw wants to play he wants to pretend, make people think that he's like, hey, I served my country, look, I lost my eye for it, even though whatever. And I'm level-headed, and
right.
I'm a conservative, but you could trust me. I'll keep you safe and everything. But he's a piece of shit and no different than like Matt Gaetz,
right?
And he just wants to come off like he desperately wants to be like the next John McCain. Yeah. Like when Pete Davidson made fun of him and he got like death threats sent to him and everything, and they brought Dan Crenshaw on. It basically gave Dan Crenshaw this national. It was so fucked up because it was that blue wave election.
Yep.
And what do? They bring on the fucking guy who won an incredibly gerrymandered district, Texas. So not just a conservative state that most parts favors Republicans, but a district that a Democrat could never win if they even tried. Right. Is like literally the most awkward shape you ever seen. And Saturday Night Live brings this guy on and lets him come off like he's this level-headed, rational American and it was like kind of fucked up, actually. That's where.
Oh, it's very fucked up.
So fuck that guy. He sucks. And honestly, I want the GOP. He desperately wants the GOP to be like, no, it's the party of me, not the party of Marjorie Taylor Greene. No, fuck that. It's the party of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
That's who the party is.
Well, yeah.
Warren Boebert and Massey Cawthorn and Ted Cruz. That's who's in the party. It's fucking party of Alex Jones. That's what the party is.
Yep.
Not this bullshit like, hey, I'm just an American like you, even though, I too want to take away, SNAP benefits.
It is crazy. I mean, like, it's going to be real interesting over the next year. I mean, like, it's a little.
Yeah, go ahead. What?
No, it'll be interesting. At some point, like these politicians will get crazier and crazier, and you hope that like elects more Democrats, but like
as more stuff comes in about January 6th and it becomes more and more evident, it really is evident. That's what drives me.
Yeah.
It's there for everyone to see. This fucking guy came on my page. He started writing about like trying to make it sound like it was like Pelosi was behind it. Like,
Right. Yes. Okay. Sure.
you're smoking crack. Go away. Like, I mean, these fucking clowns, they always say that, like, oh, it's all actors. It's so funny. Like, they all plan it. They go on TV, they gloat about it. But then the day when it actually happens and it transpires and they get caught, all of a sudden now it was crisis actors. And it was like, no, it was you guys. We have all the footage of you talking about it for months and planning it.
And then it happened, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I thought this was kind of a weak moment. So, like, I guess the Democrats did something today, and like Lin-Manuel Miranda was there.
Oh, I heard about this, but I don't know anything about it. They did a song from Hamilton,
but like there were no Republicans there except for
Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney.
And,
no?
Yeah, Liz Cheney and Dick. Like, what the fuck is Dick Cheney doing there?
Yeah.
Wasn't
that a Jim Carrey movie, Fun with Dick and Liz? No.
Dick and Jane.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, like, why is he there? Don't like. It's like the Democrats are so desperate for decorum and shit.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy's a piece of crap, man. Like,
well,
the Republican Party is what it is because of guys like this.
That is the thing about Democrats I don't love, is that a lot of them are deeply committed to the old dichotomy. And
I think a lot of them are centrist milksops.
Yeah. Well,
that I'm not saying all of them, I'm saying there's a decent amount of them. I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, oh, we have one normal person.
Yeah.
They acknowledge that setting the Capitol on fire was a bad thing.
Right.
They acknowledge that. I thought it was good that Biden came out there and basically said, yeah, I got 81 million votes.
Yeah.
4 million.
Right. He's a defeated former president.
That's why when I pretended that I had, well, no, I did. It was something combination sickness. I'm still trying to figure out how Trump not resign. I don't get. I mean, like not resign, but like concede. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm so shocked.
It's crazy. Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I'm still not. I still don't believe anything's going to come out of January 6th. I think they'll arrest more people. And there'll be people who will face charges.
Yeah.
I mean, until I see like fucking Charlie Kirk is forced to show up to like this,
right?
Like fucking what's his face's wife, Ginny Thomas, like is forced to like give some kind of testimony. I don't believe anything's.
That'll be tough. I mean, in my head that's perfectly clear, but that's a little tough to prove. Like busing people, like if I say, hey, we're gonna have a protest, let's say I'm Charlie Kirk. Imagine my head is like 6 times the size
and your head, but your face is the same
but
size.
My face is the same size.
Right.
So if I say I'm gonna bust in a bunch of people to protest the election, and I do it, and then simultaneously Trump and Bannon and some other people are saying, let's whip these motherfuckers up and get them violent. Unless you can prove that, like, I knew about Trump's plan to make them violent, then I'm kind of off the hook, because like there's a little weirdness there. I mean, obviously I think Charlie Kirk should be chucked in prison, but
if you provide the transportation and like, this isn't just like a Greyhound. This is like you knew who was coming on the bus, you knew who you were taking. I mean, like, talking about DWIs before, bars could be held responsible for like a drunk driver kills somebody. Yeah. Possibility a bar could be held.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying, like, it's a little more of a gray area than it might first appear. I think, honestly, and I've always thought this, the big crimes were Trump and his team calling secretaries of state and interfering with the election.
Right. Like that's.
I mean, I think that's it.
And it's a self-evident crime. They freaking.
Yep.
It's for everyone to see.
So
it doesn't make any sense. It's like laws don't apply to these people.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, like, if things start clicking soon, then I told you earlier. I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong, and I'll gladly eat my words. But
No, I do too. I hope
yeah,
that they do something, but I'm not counting on it.
yeah,
Like I said, I don't. It's great that fucking what's her face from Frisco got thrown in jail for 30 to 60 days.
yeah,
Ryan. I feel so much safer now.
right. Well,
But like, you know, Paul Gosar gets to remain in Congress.
yeah. Well, sometimes that happens. I mean, honestly, if they gather up 700-800 of their followers and consequence them via prison sentences, maybe that's all you get. But I do think that Trump and a few of his cronies 100% committed crimes they got to answer for.
Like, what's his face? The guy who fucking like was the spokesman for, what was his name? The Trump's.
Not Navarro.
What?
Not Navarro.
No, not that psychopath. There's that other guy who like Trump Jr. spoke with, and like supposed to show up at he was like supposedly subpoenaed, was supposed to show up and then backed out.
Like Steve Bannon or Roger Stone, or
was it Mark Meadows or something?
Oh, Mark Meadows, yeah. Him. Yeah.
Like that fucking guy.
Chief of staff, yeah.
Yeah, that guy should face something. I mean, like
and honestly, the kids should. There's a plenty of blame to go around. So we may not get the satisfaction of seeing those middlemen go, but if they get the lower level people and then the upper level people, then
I just think the biggest thing is these motherfuckers should be shamed to the point that like, no, you don't get to run for Congress,
right?
You don't get to like participate in governmental power. Like people who are supposedly running that attended that thing. You don't get to Bob's Burger anymore. That one's a weird one. I would love to talk to that guy. I mean, actually, I probably don't now that I know that I don't.
Well, yeah.
But I'd be like, you know what? First, you want to blow up the moon on Mr. Show, because the guy's from Mr. Show,
right?
And he's in a great. They did this fake commercial where they make fun of the famous Apple 1984 commercial.
Oh yeah. The one with the hammer and yeah.
They did that similar. There's like a world where it's like cold and like, but then he comes in with dressed up as Uncle Sam with a machine gun, and it's for a product called Mayo Stirred. It's just mayo mixed with mustard. Finally, mayo and mustard mixed together or something, and all the people are being freed from this like dark, like kind of like the 19.
Right.
It's great.
That's funny.
I guess he was rehearsing for his invading the Capitol.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, it's just weird because it's a year later, and like, there's a huge segment of the American population doesn't think anything bad happened.
Yeah, don't care.
Some asshole commented like, "Oh, punk's been trying to do that for a year," and a bunch of old white people did it. It's like, here's the thing: those people, and wrap this up. The people that attended that day did not do it. They went there to steal our vote.
Yeah.
Steal our voice. They went there to silence us. They went there to destroy democracy and to permanently put in power a dictator.
Yeah.
That's why they were there. They were there to benefit the donor class, the billionaires. They were not there for the will of the people.
No.
They did not represent the majority in any way whatsoever. The reasons why they were there could vary from just flat out bigotry, racism. That's probably that's baked into the cake.
Yeah.
Tasing balls.
Yeah.
I just came here to tase balls.
Right.
He did exactly what he wanted to do. He tased his balls.
Yeah.
He can only do it once, I guess. He suffered from clogged arteries or something.
Well, hopefully we see something soon.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, to wrap it up, like, these people, when I watched this thing, I'm like, these people have no real grievances. They're just a bunch of mad hatters, and like, they did it in the name of keeping one of the worst, stupidest people in power. And they
so
were
stupid, so pointless.
They didn't represent you. I did not. It's like the ending of don't look up when you 27,000 years later, humans, the remaining humans
Right.
on that planet. I don't give a fucking shit what happened to them. I mean, they weren't real, but I mean, like,
Right.
it's like you're looking in. It's like the planet was just blown up because of incompetency.
Yeah.
They were supposed to keep you safe, and they like destroy the planet. And then these people escape, thinking they're gonna get to move on to the next planet. And the fact that they got eaten up by some dinosaurs is just poetic justice. So yeah, I came out of carbonation. Right? I was a little confused.
Well, I'm glad we got it all sorted out.
Yeah. We talked about Spider-Man and Boba Fett, and that was cool. And then we talked about a bunch of stuff that wasn't cool.
Right, coronavirus on January 6th.
Yep. And who else? Yeah. So cool. Maybe on that note.
Yes.
I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that?
Thank you for listening to You Still Going On About That. Please like, comment, share, and if you haven't done already, please follow us on Instagram, YSGOAT, Facebook, YSGOAT, and Twitter, YSGOAT. Thank you, and have a great day.